good that we haven't started the actual training. All right. So yes, the first topic is reports. So as soon as you install the application, you will have more than 150 reports created by default, right? And these reports can be customized, meaning you can edit those reports. Say if you want to change a specific criteria, that can be done easily, right? In addition to that, we do have an option to create custom reports, meaning you can create own reports based on the specific reporting requirement, right? So I'm going to show you how these custom reports can be created, right? It's going to be pretty straightforward, and the user interface is going to be very simple to work with. Okay, so right now I just clicked on new custom report, and here comes a list of report types available. So tabular report, matrix report, summary report, audit report, and CA history report. So if you're wondering how the report will look like, you can just look at the little diagram next to it. So if it's a tabular report, it's a table format that gives you the whole list of columns, and each row will have the specific record details, right? Likewise, in case of matrix, it's going to be more like the pivot table, like we have it in Excel, like a pivot, meaning you will have something on x-axis and something on y-axis, and you will see the numbers in the rows. So I'll demonstrate how this works. Probably you'll get a better understanding on it. And summary, yes, so this gives you the complete set of data, and it would be grouped by a specific column. So that's called as summary reports. And then audit reports, yes, this will be specifically available for assets, meaning if you want to see whatever modifications have happened on the assets, and this is going to be really helpful. Both hardware changes on the assets, and even the ownership changes of the asset, all those would be available on audit reports. And CA history report, as the name implies, you can get the complete summary of whatever modifications have happened on the CI, right? Okay, so that's pretty much about the report types. And right now I'm going to run a tabular report and show you how it works. So as soon as I pick the tabular reports, and underneath it, we can see the whole list of modules available in ServiceDesk. So here you can pick whether you want to run a report on request module. And inside request module, if you want to run a report on service request specifically, you can pick it up, right? Likewise, we have different modules. Time spent, whatever added in the work log, that's going to be available in time spent. Likewise, we have different modules. You can pick the respective module, and you can choose any specific data from that particular module has to be reported. So upon choosing it, we can click on proceed to report result. Right now I have chosen all request service requests, and here comes the list of columns. So here we can pick the columns required on the report. All we have to do is just select all of them and move it to the right hand side, and then comes the filtering option. So here we have a couple of filtering options. First one is a date filter. So I hope you can imagine what it is. Say if you want to get records falling between a specific time frame, so you're going to set up the date filter. And here is one cool option available. Say if you're running a report, you might be getting the data. I mean, you will have option to get the whole data since you first created a ticket, right? Or you can specify the time frame, meaning give me records from 1st June to 10th June, right? And whenever you run it, that report will return data from 1st June to 10th June. But we have a list of templates here. You can see on my screen, like the ones, whatever you see today, this week, last week, this month, these are all templates. So how it helps is, say if you pick one of these templates, say if I'm choosing today, whenever you run this report, it's going to get you the data of that particular day, right? So that would be pretty useful when you have to schedule those reports, and if you want to get the report on a periodic basis, because whenever you run, that's going to get you the current day or current weeks or last week, this month data, right? So that's going to be pretty straightforward, and that's one good thing that you can choose or configure it on your report, right? And yeah, this is one other option wherein you can simply choose a time frame. So you got a calendar to pick what date to what date you want to get the records, right? Okay, and then comes the filtering options wherein you can pick the column and you can choose whether the particular, I mean, you have that particular specific value, or if it contains a specific value, you can define the condition, and I guess it's pretty straightforward. And then we got an option to group it, right? Say if you have multiple records and if you want to see it based on the category, then you can group it. And also, if you want to sort it, there is an option to order based on a specific column. And you have three levels of sorting. So you can sort it based on column 1, column 2, and column 3. So that's again pretty straightforward. All right. And then we have the summary type. So summary type, say if you're listing 10 records, whatever associated to a specific category, it may be required for the customer to see what is the total count. Rather, they count the number of records. It's better if you could show one row saying this is the count of records available underneath a specific category. Likewise, if you have any other numeric column, you can get the sum, average, maximum value, or minimum value, right? And also, we have an option to create charts, meaning with the data, whatever we get from this report, you can have a chart built. So it can be of a pie chart, or it can be of a bar chart, stack bar chart, line chart, and so on, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly run the report, and I have chosen random columns here. So you cannot get proper report, but still you can see how it works. All right. Okay. So I got nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the criteria because I have chosen created type, and I think I haven't created any request on this particular instance today. So that's why we are getting no data, and now we have it, right? So this is the graph which you have on the top, and followed by the whole bunch of requests available. Okay, I think it would have helped you understand how our reporting works, how custom reporting works in the product. And the other type of report I just want to demonstrate is the matrix type, right? So matrix type, again, we got to pick on what module you want to run the matrix type report. And I just clicked on proceed to report wizard. And here comes a couple of options. Either you could pick a simple matrix report or an advanced matrix report. So in simple matrix report, you just have an option to pick any column in x-axis and y-axis, right? So in y-axis, I'm choosing group. I'm choosing some columns randomly, right? And in x-axis, I've chosen category, right? And I have to choose what should be summarized in the columns. So I'm just choosing request ID, right? And similar to the tabular reports, you have an option to choose filter. So create a time, whatever, this year or today or yesterday or whatever, you can choose it. And we have the advanced filtering as well. So you can pick whatever filter you want, and you can simply click on run, and that's going to be getting you whatever data required, right? And now I'm just going to make it, I'm going to modify it a little so that we can get some advanced report, right? And here comes an option wherein you can pick a particular date field. Say if you want to get the data based on a specific uh, date field, you can pick it. And there you can choose what format it's supposed to show up, whether you want to show up based on month, day, week, time, year and month, and so on, right? So month, I'm picking it up. And then you have something to pick on the y-axis as well. And you can have three levels of groupings, meaning you can have one particular column to be grouped by one, I'm sorry, you can group by one column, and second level using another column, right? And then you can group by another column as well, right? And then similar to simple matrix report, you have an option to set based on what column you want to summarize. So you have an option to choose count, sum, average, minimum value, and maximum value. All right, so I'm going to choose it, choose request ID. And then similar to the previous model, we have the filtering options, the date filter and advanced filter. So this is going to get you a little bit of advanced reporting. I hope you can see it right now, and you can see what difference it makes from simple one, right? So it depends on the requirement of the customer. And then you have multiple options to export it. Say if you run a report, yeah, you may have to email it in a specific format. So what we can do is you have an option to export into an HTML file, into a PDF file, or an XLS or CSV, right? And also you have an option to mail the report, right? So if you choose mail the report, that's going to ask you to what email address you want to send to and in what format you want to send, right? So yeah, that's going to be pretty straightforward. And you can save this report. Say if you want to run in a later time, and you can simply save it, and there is an option to create folders, right? So that's reports, and you can make this report to be public or private, right? So that's going to be simple to do it right from the user interface. And the one other important option available over here is schedule reports, right? So what we can do is we can schedule a report to send it on a periodic basis. We can do a schedule to generate once, or it can be a daily report. If you want to send it daily, that can be done. And you can create a weekly report and monthly report. And also you have an option to pick on what format it's supposed to be sent, right? You can pick a PDF or XLS, HTML, inline HTML. If you want the report to be embedded right on the email, you can choose inline HTML, right? So that's going to be pretty simple to configure, right? All right, so that's a quick run through about the reports. And I think I have a question on the chat. Please click on the audit history by workstation and CA history. Online demo error, just to check. All right, give me a second. Let me quickly check if that's running in my instance. Audit reports. And if you pick audit reports, that will be available only for assets. So you will have only audit history enabled, right? Okay. There we go. So this week, run report. Yeah, it's running for me. Yeah, the demo site might have some restrictions because we will not let users to configure certain areas in the product, right? And so that could be the probable reason why you're getting some error on the demo. Maybe we'll have to handle the error because it will create a wrong perception for the first time users. So we'll certainly see to have some contextual error message so that people will understand that it's a limitation of the demo, right? But anyways, if you have any such trouble with your installation, we do have the logs and we can investigate what went wrong or what's going wrong, and accordingly we can help you to fix it, right? All right, cool. I hope this would have gotten you an idea of how reporting works. And the next thing I want to talk about is on the dashboards. So dashboards, yes, of course, we have some standard dashboards available, and these are called as widget. So request by technician is a widget, and likewise summary is a widget. Likewise, you can add more widgets to these dashboards, right? And if you click on add new widget, this is going to get you what are all the existing widgets available. And on this particular dashboard, I embedded all the widgets. So that's why it's not showing up any widgets right now. And say if I want to embed a new widget, say if I want to embed a URL and show up a new widget, that can be done as well. Say if you're dealing with a company who is involved in stock marketing, and if they want to show up their stock prices and so on, they can simply embed the URL with live statistics, and that's going to be shown up right on the dashboard, right? So this option will be really useful when it comes to some real-time data that needs to be shown up right within the ServiceDesk Plus interface, right? And also if they have a different, the customer have a different reporting system. I hope you guys are aware of Crystal reports and BI systems and even analytics, right? So if they have such reporting systems and if they are running reports in that and they want to embed it in the dashboard, so this is going to be very handy, right? And also it is possible to create new dashboards and you can share it to the specific users depending upon the roles, right? So I'm going to quickly demonstrate how that works. So new dashboard. And here comes an option to specify the dashboard name, and you can pick what are the widgets supposed to be shown up. And also you can add external widgets in the same way, just like I demonstrated. And here comes the option to share it. Say if you want this particular dashboard to be shared to a specific technician or the users with specific roles, here you can see. So for CEO, if you want to have a special dashboard to be shown up, you can simply create one and share it. All right. So yeah, I hope this would have gotten you an understanding of how this dashboard works. And one other cool option available in the dashboards and reporters, say if you want some report to be a part of the dashboard, that can be added as well. Right. Let me quickly demonstrate it because we have an option to create a chart, and that particular chart can be added onto the dashboard. So let me quickly show you that. All right. Okay. So, say if I want to embed this particular report to the dashboard, I can simply do this. I can add to the dashboard, and I have an option to add totally 10 such widgets. So, I can choose on what dashboard this needs to be added. I'm choosing help desk, and let's go back. And also, I made it private just for me, right? And if you want to make it public, yes, that can be done as well. And I'm going in there, and this should be showing up at the very bottom. And also there is an option to align it as well. So you can edit this particular dashboard, right? And you can organize the widgets. Yep. So this is the one which we just embedded onto the dashboard, and just showing you how we can manage to organize it in such a way so that the important ones are at the top and the less important ones at the bottom, right? I hope this would help you in understanding the option to customize the dashboards and how to create reports in the application. And just one another option that is available in the reporting module is query report. So if you think a particular report, or if you couldn't achieve a particular report using the existing reports or the custom reports, you can very well create query reports. But this requires a knowledge in SQL language, SQL language. So if you're good in SQL language, you have an option to look at the schema of our database for all major modules, and using which you can construct a query. So I'll just write a quick query and show you how it works. So this particular query is going to list out the whole bunch of requests available in the system. So don't try this in a customer environment because they might be having a lot of records. So when you're running a report to return all data in the system, it may lead to performance issues, or even it may crash the application. So you need to be very careful about it. And there is also some restrictions in place. So when you happen to run without criteria by mistake, it is possible to restrict to return a specific number of rows. So that's not going to affect much, but still you need to be very careful when running such query report. And we do have some restrictions in place when you run a query report. So only select queries, meaning you can only get data from the database using this report option, and you'll not be able to update, insert, or delete any data from the database, right? So this is pretty much useful when you want to get data. And just like the report I've shown, the custom reports I have shown, this can be saved as well, and you can run it anytime you want. And one other good thing available over here is the same templates. So you can use these templates on the query reports as well. So whenever you run, that's going to get you the real-time data. So if you're running a report to show up all data this week, yes, it's going to be showing up for this particular week, right? Okay, so I guess that's about it. And if you have any specific report requirements as per the customer, we can see if that can be achieved using query reports. So we do have a repository wherein you can see the whole bunch of queries we have written for different customer requirements, right? So you can make use of it. And if you have any specific other requirement which is not available in our repository, you can request us so that we can help you with the specific reports. All right. So I think I just got a note from Dao Kim Hong, and what is the history report? All right. So I hope you guys discussed about the CI, the CMDB module, right? So in CMDB module, all items we add into the application are called CIs, configuration items, right? So this particular option will help you to get a report on all configuration items. I mean, history of the configuration items, meaning, say if you have one particular router added into the system, and there is a possibility wherein the ownership of that particular router would have been changed from one to another. So those information would be captured in the audit history of that particular CI, so that we can see whatever changes have happened on that particular configuration item, and those can be reported. So I can show you an example right now. All right, so you have an operation date when that happened, and you can pick the column. CI type is, let's say, access point. And this is going to return whatever changes have happened on the access point. I think I do not have much information on access point. So what I can do is I'll quickly pick all these here so that we would return some data. Oh, okay. I don't have any changes. Probably the operation date was chosen this week. What I do is I'll increase that to this year. Now we should have some data in it. Great. There we go. So this gives us the whole list of CIs, configuration items, along with the history, right? You can see when it was added and when it was changed, right? So configuration item includes the users as well. So it's pretty much whatever there in an organization. So these are the building blocks that constitutes the whole business. So it could be people, or it could be the hardware assets, or it could be even a piece of paper or software, whatever installed on the machines. So these all collectively called as configuration item. And the CMDB is all about building relationships, building pictorial relationships between one CI to another, right? So this particular report will get you the history of whatever changes have happened on those CIs. Okay, so I guess that explains. Yeah, Dow, are you happy? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. All right, yeah. Please be interactive, guys. It's really keep us interesting throughout the session. So if you go on mute mode, then probably will not be able to discuss much. It's good that we have a chat option, and you guys are asking questions. Please continue the same. We'll be very grateful if you could continue the same throughout the training. All right, so yeah, that's about the reporting module. I hope I showed you most of the options available. And here, in addition to this, we have got integration with advanced analytics. That's one other nice product from Manage Engine, and that's going to be getting you more reporting options. So it's not only for service desk; it can integrate with variety of products, be it a monitoring system, or even if the customer has the legacy database that can be connected to analytics. So analytics can get us a consolidated dashboards and reports across multiple applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss about that when we talk about the integration. Yeah, of course, that's going to be our next topic. Great. All right. So the next topic is integrations. And yeah, I think I've already spent half an hour for reports. I used to do only for 10 minutes, but you guys were very interactive. So I thought I should explain whatever possible in the reporting module, since it's very important one in the product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly talk about the different integrations. So we have a suite of products that can be integrated with ServiceDesk. So we do not have much time to go deeper into the product and discuss about what are the functionalities available in the product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly talk about the primary functionality, right? Or the primary use case being solved by the specific product. Say if you ask what does ServiceDesk do? Yeah, it's IT help desk solution. So in one word, right? So that's a primary functionality we are solving. But inside ServiceDesk, we have multiple features, right? So I'm going to give a kind of a one-liner or maybe a couple of sentences about what that particular product does, the primary functionality of the product, and then I'll be demonstrating what use case we are solving using the integration with ServiceDesk Plus. All right, so that's exactly what we are going to do for this integration topic. All right, so the first integration we have in here is AD Manager Plus. So AD is Active Directory Manager Plus. All right, so the primary functionality of Active Directory Manager Plus is, okay, so if you take a huge organization wherein they will have hundreds of people joining in an organization and hundreds of people leaving the organization. So most of the companies, almost 90 percentage of organizations across the globe using AD, Active Directory, right? So one of the tasks they would perform, or one of the primary tasks they would perform when a new user joins the company is adding the user into Active Directory. Likewise, when someone leaves the company, they have to remove the record and remove whatever access they have in the Active Directory and other application, right? So to simplify this particular process, we have integrated AD Manager Plus with the application, right? So let me just demonstrate how this is going to help, right? So the configuration wise, it's going to be pretty simple. So you got to install AD Manager Plus. That's again an on-premise solution. All you got to do is provide the server name, port number, and what protocol is being used by the application. Right? It's pretty straightforward, and we do not have any complicated configurations over here. It's pretty straightforward. And underneath that, we can see the whole bunch of actions that can be performed. I hope you can read it and probably can understand what exactly it does. Say, create a user in AD. So one of the typical requests that we mostly handle is onboarding request, right? So when a user joins a company and the particular user has to be provided with all required assets, and he has to be given access to multiple applications. He has to be created with a Active Directory login. So these are all some of the tasks that needs to be performed for a new user joins the organization, right? So as soon as he joins, a request is going to be triggered to IT and other departments to get him or her the required access, right? All right. So here, let's quickly look into what configuration we have underneath the particular action. So here in this, create a AD user. So that's a action that we want to perform, right? And here comes the option to associate to what are all the roles this particular action should show up. And then you can see the list of request templates. So both incident and templates, service templates are listed. So you can pick on which templates this particular option should show up, right? I hope you would have gotten an idea of where this particular option going to be available, right? So I'm going under request module and I'm going to open a request created using a specific template. And right now I'm logged in as an administrator, so I have complete access to the application. So I don't have to worry about the role right now. So as per the configuration, it's supposed to be showing up for all roles and the requests created using a specific template, right? So the template I've chosen over here is onboarding a new user. Okay. Yay. I think I have a little slowness. I'm not sure is it due to my computer. Give me a second. Let me quickly check what is the problem. All right, I think now it's better. Let me pick the request over again. Oh, what's going on? All right, let me quickly reload the application and let me see if it solves a problem. Okay. So since we are all working from home, now my laptop is due to get replaced. So I'm using this laptop for almost 5 to 6 years, and now it's getting me all performance issues. Sorry about that. I think it should be all right in a second. All right, great. We got it. So there was a little delay, but still it has loaded as the request. So you can see a tab called Custom Actions, right? And if you click on it, that's going to be showing up the whole bunch of custom actions available to perform right from the request. So the one of the actions available is create user in AD. So now you can relate the configuration with whatever you're saying right now, right? So in the configuration, we have set to show up this particular menu for all users. I mean, users with any role, right? And the other criteria we have provided is show up this particular menu on the template, which is used for user onboarding, right? Okay. So now you can see I have invoked this particular menu, and this has given me a form, and you can see the data from the request is populated over here, right? So I'll show you what data I have on the request. So in the request, I have filled in the employee name and what should be his email address and what is his job title and so on. So the data from the particular request is copied over to this particular menu. And here I'm going to create an AD user account just by a click of a button. So that's our the primary use case that we are solving, right? And also I'll talk about what is the usual way of creating an AD account in an IT business and how this particular integration gonna be helpful, right? So I have to type in a password which can comply with our AD settings. There we go. All right, it's creating a user in Active Directory right now. So you can imagine. All right, it's connection timeout, but still it has tried. So what it does is it has sent a request, or it has called the API of AD Manager Plus, and it has given all information right on the request, and then we can create an AD account right from ServiceDesk, right? So the normal way to do this is, when you have a new employee joined, there will be a request created for IT. So the technician who are working on that particular request will copy all the details, put it on an email, and send it to the person who manages the AD. Right. So that is the typical way that companies would operate. Right. And then there are possibilities wherein there could be some typos, or maybe when the data is being typed in manually onto Active Directory, there are a lot of possibilities wherein it will get messed up, right? So to avoid all those, so this is going to be a real useful option through which the technician himself can perform this particular action without having to copy paste stuff manually or jumping to a different interface. Everything's going to happen right on the ticket, right? So let's go back and see what are the different other options available. Okay, this used to be pretty fast. I don't know why it just became slow. Okay, that's fine. Now it's fast. All right, so you can perform all these actions: delete user, disable user, enable user, modify department. All these actions can be performed right from the ticket in Active Directory, right from ServiceDesk ticket. I hope you can imagine how it's cutting down the major chunk of work, whatever needs to be done when you have some thing to be done on the Active Directory, right? All right. So yeah, I hope now you would have gotten an idea of what AD Manager Plus is. So their primary functionality is they will offer templates. Say if you happen to work with a big organization, they will have a lot of users joining the organization per day and leaving the organization. So when joining, you might have to provide them a specific set of privileges and access to different applications, right? So what AD Manager Plus can do is they can create templates, right? They can have multiple templates created, and when a user joins in, the user would be associated to the specific template, so that the template will have the whole list of access that needs to be provided to the user. So it will all happen in just one click. Instead of going through each and every configuration, the technician can simply choose what template needs to be applied, and that's going to get them all access needed, right? You can see the whole bunch of templates loading here in ServiceDesk. So all you have to do is simply choose this particular template should be applied for this particular user, and that's going to create the account accordingly, right? Okay. So this could be one good use case, because Active Directory is applicable for almost 90% of companies that has IT, right? So I guess you'll have a better deal when you have Service Desk along with AD getting sold to a customer, right? Okay. All right. So the next integration that I want to talk about is on AD Self Service Plus. It's again one other nice products from the WSM stream, Windows Server Management stream. So yeah, I mean there is one statistic I can remember right now. So 70% of requests, whatever received to help desk, are for resetting the password in AD. Right. This is one fact, and this is common across any organization. And yeah, so how we can reduce the 70% of requests being raised for it, resetting the password, just to reset the password. So for that, this particular product going to be useful. So AD Self Service Plus, as the name implies, is going to help the users reset the password by themselves, right? It will help the users to reset the password by themselves. So that's the primary functionality of that particular tool. And this particular tool can offer options to have users to reset the password right from their lock screen. So in Windows, we have the lock screen, right? So it can provide options right on the lock screen. From there, they can reset the password by themselves. And also it supports multi-factor authentication, meaning they can authenticate using mobile app, or they can authenticate using SMS or using Google code. So there are a variety of options using which they can authenticate and reset their password. So how it helps is, upon enabling AD Self Service Plus, if they have access to Service Desk, they can simply use this particular option through which they can reset the password if they have access to Service Desk, right? So just a option wherein it will take them to a different interface. From there, they could reset their password, right? All right. And the third integration which I want to talk about is on advanced analytics. So this is one among the important integration, and it's being used by majority of customers, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate a couple of reports that are available by default. I'm not going to spend much time on this. This is just to get an idea of how this particular integration gonna be useful. And as I said, configuration wise is going to be pretty simple. All you have to do is put in the server name and the credentials, so that services can connect to this application and push the data on a periodic basis. So when I say periodic basis, it's going to be a very tiny interval, maybe a minute or two, so that it will be on real-time sync with ServiceDesk Plus. So this particular product can integrate with variety of other products as well. So now I just gone into ServiceDesk Plus integration, and I think it's loading the CAO dashboard as default. All right, from this, I think you can see how interactive this particular dashboard going to be. Say this is a CAO dashboard, the dashboard which any CAO want to see, everything in one particular screen, and you can manage the whole business just by using the dashboard, and you can make decisions using the dashboards, right? So this is going to be interactive, meaning these are all not static dashboards. So this is going to be interactive. Say if I want to see the underlying data, I can quickly click on drill down by, and if I want to see it in a different graph, yes, I have an option right there. So do it. So this is going to be very interactive dashboard, and it can show up high level statistics and also the different graphs, and this is customizable, right? And so if you want to add some more graphs to this, that can be easily done. And also if you want to create reports, this product will offer a real user-friendly interface through which you can easily create reports. So all you have to do is just quickly choose whatever columns needed, and then you can apply the filtering conditions and get it done, right? So this is one good example I can show you when it comes to integration with analytics. And as I was saying earlier, this product can integrate with the different other products as well. So using which you can get the consolidated dashboards, right? And even we use this tool for our, for our support requirement as well. So this tool is integrated to our ticketing system. So we have got huge televisions on our bay. We call it as bay, and that will be running with all statistics, whatever we need, the real-time statistics. So that's pretty helpful. So that's why I would strongly recommend if a customer whomever you're interacting have a requirement for reports, you can show up the existing reports, whatever available within the application, and also you can show up what the integration with analytics can offer. So the people whomever evaluating, I'm sure they will be really impressed with the kind of reports we offer using analytics. And we have a very good integration. So the data would be on sync constantly. And one more piece of information that I want to add up when I talk about advanced analytics is we have two types of offerings in analytics. One is the cloud offering, and that's been branded underneath the Zoho.com. So it is called as Zoho Reports. And the one which is available underneath the Manage Engine brand is Manage Engine Advanced Analytics, right? So Manage Engine Advanced Analytics is an on-prem model. It has to be installed on a server and integrated. And the other one is a cloud offering, which will be hosted on our data centers, and the data from ServiceDesk will be pushed over to the cloud version, right? So that's pretty much what we offer when it comes to advanced analytics. All right, so that's about advanced analytics, and let me quickly jump on to the next integration, Desktop Central. So Desktop Central is an endpoint management application. When I say endpoint, yeah, any company that has a lot of laptops and desktops. So this particular tool will help in easy management of those endpoints, any laptop, desktop, or mobile phones, right? So yeah, this particular product has all discovery mechanism as we discussed over the last day session in the asset management, right? Asset management topic. So this tool offers similar discovery options, and it also offers an agent, and the agent can be deployed in all the machines. So this can offer additional options like deploying an application, deploying software. You can install a software, and also you can install a patch, right? And also it has integrated OS deployer. So operating system can be deployed as well using this particular application. So I think you can imagine what kind of application is it right now. And these are all primary functionalities of this application, and it does more than whatever I said. So I think you would be getting training on Desktop Central as well. So the team will get you more information on the other features available within the product. All right, so I think you can see the configuration is going to be pretty straightforward. So an import number and API key, right? So I'll talk about the APIs and API key in a bit, right? So I hope this gives you an idea of how simple the configuration is going to be. All right, now let's get into the use case that we saw using the integration. All right, so yeah, I think the next top category of requests that we will get from the requesters of an organization is uninstall software, right? So this is again one other tedious task. Say if user wants to install a software, yeah, the usual way, I mean, before maybe 5 years or 6 years, the IT personnel or the IT guy will carry a CD-ROM with him, go to the employee desk, put in the CD-ROM, and install the software. Right. So that's a typical way or usual way that's being handled before maybe 10 years back. Right. So, and then it become, they will provide a link wherein they can download it from the shared drive and install it. So that's one other way that's been handled maybe before 5 years. So that was become advanced a little bit. And now it can be performed right from the ticket, right? So we are going to witness how that's going to work out. And again, the configuration is pretty much similar to the one which you have seen with AD Manager Plus, right? So you can choose what roles is supposed to be shown up and which are the templates supposed to be shown up. So I'm going to be using the same template, whatever, I mean, the request, whatever I used. All right. So here comes the option, install uninstall software. Upon picking it up, this is going to get me the interface wherein I can choose what software need to be installed on the machine. So if I have the machine name chosen on the request already, it will be populated over here. And all I have to do is simply click on save, and that's going to be installing the particular software on that machine. Right, so it's going to be make the life simpler. So just by a click of a button, it can install the software right on that specific machine. Right. So I think I hope you would have gotten some understanding on how this integration gonna make people life easier. And the other templates I have in here, so I don't want to run through all the templates over here. I'll just go in with the couple of important ones. So install, uninstall is a common action that would be performed on the request. And the other one is resolve requests using templates. So rather I describe how it works, probably if I just get into it, you can understand. Okay, so this would be really useful when it comes for troubleshooting. Say if we have a request raised for a performance issue with the machine, the first thing what we would do is clean the recycle bin and disable all the unused accounts, right? And the other thing which you want to do is, disk defragmentation, right? These are some common steps that will be performed when it comes to troubleshooting the performance related issues. So using this is going to be very simple. All you have to do is, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I think I removed it accidentally. So it will show up what are the different templates available. So either it can be disk defragmentation or remove disable accounts, or it can be removing the data from or the files from the recycle bin. And again, if you have a computer name on the request, that will be populated over here. And all you have to do is click deploy configuration, right? So that's going to do the job behind the screens. And once it is done, the ticket would be closed, right? So it can help you troubleshoot the issue without moving away from the seat, and it will be done remotely. And also the status of the particular operation going to be updated back on the request as well. So it's going to make life of IT technicians easier, right? Yeah, and also there are different set of tools available. Like if you want to restart or if you want to send a message to the particular user using the agent available, yes, that can be done, right? And if you want to run a script, and also the Desktop Central offers a remote control option. So I hope you would have seen that Asset Explorer, I mean the asset management, whatever bundled application has a remote control option. And if you're integrating it with Desktop Central, you can use the remote option provided by Desktop Central as well, right? And to be honest, when comparing to the asset management module with Desktop Central's asset management, Desktop Central asset management is more powerful. So it has more functionalities than the Asset Explorer, whatever we have, asset management, whatever we have in the application. And we are looking forward to integrate, or we want to bundle. I mean, integrate is not a good word. So we're going to bundle the Desktop Central functionalities right within ServiceDesk. So that is what we are working on at present. So we probably can expect that happens real soon, right? So we are going to bundle the functionalities of Desktop Central well within ServiceDesk Plus. So that's being worked on at present. All right, and the next integration which I want to show you is on mobile device manager management. So it's MDM in short. Again, the configuration going to be simple, and let me quickly jump on to the different options or what is the use case that we are solving using the integration. So MDM, mobile device manager, is a part of a desktop central, and it can be purchased as a standalone product as well. That is, if a customer wants only the mobile device management, that can be installed separately, or if they want a complete solution which could manage the desktops, I'm sorry, the machines, Windows machines, or whatever machines. Along with that, they want to do mobile device management. We can offer it as one single solution as well, right? Okay, let's see what are all the use cases that we solve. Locate devices. Say, if you have lost the mobile phone, whatever offered by the organization. So what we can do is we can track down the particular mobile phone right from the ticket, meaning you can do this action right on the ticket. As I was demonstrating earlier, it's going to populate that particular device name, and you can see where it is located in the map. Right, it would be pointed in the map, and it will give you further options wherein you can wipe off the data from the mobile phone remotely, or you can lock it up, or one other good functionality that we have in mobile device manager is it can have containers, meaning you can have two different containers, one to store all the organization related information, and one is personal. So if you want to remove the data, I mean, organizational data or personal data or both. Yep, you can do it remotely right from a ticket, right from a request. So that's pretty much what offered using, or what functionality that we offer using the integration with the mobile device manager plus, right? Okay, so anyways, I'm just giving you a brief about the particular products, and I hope you'll be getting a training on each of these products separately, and that's going to get you more understanding, and you can explore what are the other features available. All right, so the next couple of integrations that I want to talk about is Op Manager, right? Okay, so Op Manager is a server monitoring application which has integrated network monitoring, application monitoring that can be added as add-ons in the application, right? So that's primarily used to monitor and raise alerts when you have some threshold breach or something goes wrong in the servers, right? So that's a primary functionality of Op Manager. So how this integration works is you can configure the Op Manager application in such a way that it can push all the alerts into ServiceDesk, and those would be created as tickets in the system. So if you think over what is the purpose or how it's going to be useful to have those alerts as tickets in the system. Okay, so yeah, in IT business, mostly people will operate in reactive mode. So when you have an issue, they will help you solve it, right? So that's a normal way that IT will operate, right? And this integration may help in upgrading the IT teams to act proactively, right? To be proactive, meaning if you could if you could manage to track down what are all the different alerts that are happening on a server, if you could consolidate it and if you get a meaning out of it, obviously that's going to be really helpful in finding the fault even before that creates a huge damage or an impact, right? So this particular integration going to be helpful in that way. So any such minor spikes, right, minor failures, that is going to be created as tickets. And when it's created as a ticket, of course, that needs to be handled by technicians. So the technicians will go through and see the pattern using the reporting module. Oh, this particular server is going beyond 90% of CPU or 90% of RAM. So obviously, there should be something happening on the particular server, and it's their responsibility to find what could be the possible issue and fix it before it creates a damage right? Damage in the sense a huge impact that affects multiple users in the organization, right? So yes, so the configuration is primarily from the op manager end, so that it can push all the alerts. You can see the configuration is pretty simple here as well. So when the alert occurs, create a ticket, and if the alert reoccurs, reopen the existing ticket. And also you can configure how the ticket should be created, what template supposed to be used, and what are the fields supposed to be filled in. So all those can be configured in op manager, so it's going to be pretty straightforward. So with this integration we can elevate IT departments from reactive mode to proactive mode, right? So that's important uh, selling point. Yeah, yeah, that's a better word. Yeah, important selling point for us when we talk about the integrations and the manage engine suite, right? Okay, so the next integration is Password Manager Pro. So Password Manager Pro is a PAM solution, privileged access management solution. So that's a normal term or a general term used in the business. What it primarily does is, say, if you talk to a IT guy, if you ask him how many passwords does he remember, so he might be remembering around some 10 to 20 passwords, including his personal accounts. And also, if he asks, how he remembers all the server and routers and other device passwords. So he might have an Excel sheet, right, and wherein he will have everything on it. So what if the Excel sheet was accessed by someone else? So that's going to be, opening up an option for anyone to access anything in an organization, right? So yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. So for that, we offer a solution using which it is easier to manage all passwords. So all they have to do is simply log into the particular application, and then they can get access to whatever service or whatever machine they want. All right, so I'm just trying to log into one of my test installations I have got, and I'm not sure whether it would be accessible right now. I think I have given you the understanding of what the passive manager do. Okay, right. So you guys could follow, because I think I'm going on a express mode. So just if you guys could give me a confirmation that it's okay. I mean, you can understand me and you can follow me. So if you guys could give acknowledgement, that would be really great. Guys, still with me? Hello, guys. All right. Not getting any response. I'm wondering whether am I talking to myself or I'm still on this meeting. Can one of you could confirm, please? All right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much. So I just want to confirm if you guys are listening, and am I audible and understandable to you all? Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your confirmation. All right. So we are in the Password Manager Pro application, and you can see the whole bunch of resources available. And say if a technician has been assigned to do some modification on the proxy server, right? So in a normal way, in a usual way, what happens is the technician will have an Excel sheet wherein he will find what is the username and password, the admin credentials or service credentials to log into the particular server to perform that action. But in Password Manager Pro, it's going to be really organized. So they will log into Password Manager Pro application, and what they can do is simply click on Windows Remote Desktop, and that's going to connect to the user. Okay, here comes additional verification layer. Say I'm a technician who should be doing the changes on the proxy server, right? So yeah, I'll log into Password Manager Pro and I will choose I want to access proxy server. So it's going to get this particular pop-up. wherein it will ask me what ticket ID which was created in ServiceDesk for which you're accessing this proxy server. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So this is going to get additional layer of verification to see if the technician is trying to access that particular resource based on the ticket, whatever created already in ServiceDesk, right? So this is going to verify if a particular ticket matching the specific criteria, and then they could access it. You can see there are either ticket ID is invalid or validation of the ticketing system. So contact your administrator, right? So this is going to give a straightforward message that you do not have the ticket number. So please check with your superior or management to see if a ticket is created without ticket number. He cannot access it, and also you have to give it the reason of why he wants to connect to the server, right? So that's going to be pretty straightforward, right? So this offers you additional layer so that it can be validated. So this is one among the use cases that we solve with the integration with Password Manager Pro, right? And again, one other cool functionality that we have in Password Manager Pro is it can record whatever happening, whatever the technician is doing on that particular server. So in case if we have to do, if you want to do some audit later on, these recordings gonna be useful, right? So this integration gonna be really useful when it comes to access those servers. And one other use case that we solve using this integration is, and right from the ticket, it is possible to connect to the remote into the machine, right? So if you have this integration in place, you can initiate a connection and you don't have to specify the username and password. So if you have rights to access that particular server, the username password would be negotiated automatically by the application itself and let the user to connect to the, or let the technician to connect to that particular server, right? So that is exactly how it works. And yeah, that's going to avoid a lot of manual work on finding the password and entering it and connecting to it, right? All right. So other four, yeah, probably I just gave you the whole list of applications and the integration. So these going to be another flavor, right? So Sorry 24/7 is equivalent to Op Manager, but it's cloud based, right? It works in the same way as I explained the Op Manager integrations for any alert that's going to create a ticket in Service Desk. And the one which you see right now as hall booking is integration with Creator. So yeah, I just want to say a few words about Creator. It's a really good application from Zoho, and that's gonna help us in creating new applications. And when I say new applications, you may think like it may require a lot of programming and coding stuff, but this particular platform going to help you to create applications in less code, right? So that's a very good thing with Zoho Creator. So I would recommend, if you get a chance, if you have some time, you can try out how Zoho Creator works. That's going to be really interesting. And here with this integration, say if a customer wants a specific module to be added into Service Desk, so we have got whatever basic modules required by any IT organization. But still, if they want something more, maybe you can check if that can be achieved using Zoho Creator, and that can be integrated with this. So they can simply switch over to other application and then do whatever they want. And both Zoho Creator and ServiceDesk has APIs, so the data exchange can happen as well, right? So that's going to be pretty straightforward. And then Jira. Jira is a third-party application that is integrated with ServiceDesk. So Jira. They have multiple products. Even they are competitors for us. They have Jira Help Desk, right? But we integrate with their bug tracking system, right? Jira bug tracking system, and it's one of the popular bug tracking systems in the world. And what use case we solve is when you have a ticket that needs to be created as a bug in Jira, you can do it just by a click of a button, right? So that's going to be really simple, and you can perform that action right from the ticket, as we are seeing, right? And the other integration which is recently added is Microsoft Teams. And yeah, this is going to be more on the Teams side. So by integrating it, it can help users to check the status of the request, and also if they want to chat within the group, yes, that's going to be allowed using the Microsoft Teams integration, right? So in our end, we do not have any interface or anything, but in Microsoft Teams, you're gonna get some control to access the ticket data and also initiate chat, right, between their groups and between the other technicians. All right, so I think we are all the way at the end of the integrations topic. Do you guys have any questions for me? I think I've explained different products and its primary functionalities in the express mode. So the primary goal, what I have for this particular topic is just to get an understanding of what product it is and what type of product it is and what use case we are trying to solve using this integration. I hope I have communicated that. In case if you do have any questions right now, you can ask me so that we can move on to another important topic of extensions. You can ask me if you do have any questions on integrations topic. All right, it's okay. Very clear for reports and integration part. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lou. Yeah, anyone else? Can I continue? Yeah, I think I've already utilized 70% of the time, whatever I supposed to. Maybe I should do the rest of the topic in another, maybe I can extend up to 30 minutes. That's the max I can do. Okay, I see something in Vietnamese. All right, M Kong on. I'll take it as yes. So far, so good. Great. Great, guys. Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks. That's clear. Okay, great. All right. So the next topic is on extensions. So this is one of my favorite topics. So whenever we do the training, I also always make sure that I pick this particular topic. All right. It's my favorite topics. Yes. Okay. So we have an agenda for this particular topic. I got a very good slides as well. Okay, so in this particular topic, we are going to see what are all the different options available in the application in ServiceDesk using which we can do customization and integration. So I have broadly classified these customizations into client-side scripting and server-side scripting, right? So if you're wondering what is client-side scripting and server-side scripting, I'll give you an example, right? Okay, client-side scripting first. Okay, so client-side scripting or the scripts, whatever you configure, it will run when you open the page on the browser, right? I hope you guys would have heard about JavaScripts. So JavaScripts or client-side scripts. So those JavaScripts will run only when you access the particular page, when the particular page is loaded on the browser, right? The execution will happen only if it's loaded on the browser, right? So if you want to, have some, options, additional options or customizations on the user interface, we can use client-side script. But this will not have any impact on the server side unless we use the APIs, right? And mostly these are all asynchronous calls, right? I hope you guys can understand what is asynchronous, right? So whatever happens, it will happen right on the browser, right? All actions will be right on the browser. So this will help us in offering some customizations, like when a customer asks, I want to add a button, or I want to show this particular data when when the user clicks on the particular button, right? So similar such requirement can be addressed. So I'm just talking about basic requirement that we get from customers, and it is possible to achieve some advanced requirements as well. I'll demonstrate that in a little bit, right? And the next is server-side scripting, right? And the server-side scripting, which is going to be useful to process some data in the server itself. Say when you have a ticket created, you just want to push the ticket information to another ticketing system, or if you want to push the ticket data to any instant messaging system, or if you want to send an email, right? So these are all should happen regardless of the application is accessed using the web interface or it happens using any so it happens using any API or something. So regardless of any mode of access by the user, these actions needs to be performed, right? So that we will perform all these actions right on the server. So that's why it's called as server-side script. So ServiceDesk Plus application as a platform similar to platform capability, wherein you can do customizations on both client side as well as in the server side. All right, so I think I made it as simple as possible. But if you want to get more information, probably you can do a Google search on what is client-side script, what are JavaScripts. Yes, that gets you a better understanding on this topic, right? All right. So yeah, client-side customizations. We have a couple of features. I hope Armugam would have discussed about field and form rules, and Agassi would have discussed about field and form rules in change module, right? So I hope you would have seen what are the different form manipulations can be done using field and the form rules. And there is one other feature called paid scripts. So this is one other good option available within the application, using which you can manipulate any page in the application. Say if a customer asks you to have a button added on the interface, right? They want to jump to a different application just by a click of a button, and it should be available right on the interface. That's going to be a simple task using paid scripts, right? Okay, let's quickly talk about the taxonomy, right? How, like, what are the different components, classification of that particular client-side scripting, feature. So first one is rules, right? So you got to specify on what criteria this particular action should happen, right? And then based on the rule, action would happen. And in the action, you can define using the existing function. So in our application, whichever module you pick, you would see some sample data in there. So this is for making the users to understand how they can configure it, right? How we can configure it and how they can use it. So likewise, we have put in some existing functions using which we can do such customizations. And if you are already aware of or if you already have experience working with the programming languages, right, like the JavaScript or even Java, Python, and so on. Yes, that can be programmed as well. Since we are talking about the client-side scripting, it should be JavaScripts, right? All right. So what I do is I'll quickly jump on into the product and show you what are the options. I hope Armugam and Agassi would have explained what are all the different possibilities that can be achieved using field and the form rules in the request templates. So I'm going to show you a little bit of advanced options available, right? I'm not going to show the same thing. So we're going to see what are the options available through which you can do some advanced customizations, right? All right. So I'm going to pick one of the templates that I've created already. Great. Field and the form rules. All right. So I guess this you are already explored. So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly open one other incognito window so that we can see or we can see what we are configured and how it works. Right, let me do that real quick. Right, so I'm logging in as an end user. So, all right, if someone have changed the password, let me quickly check once again. All right, there we go. So this time I typed in the right username and password. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to do the configuration changes and then I'll show you how this works. So the first rule, whatever we have, is configured underneath the tab on form load. So as the name implies, these rules would run when the form is loaded, right? So you can see the name of the rule and you can see options to configure on what criteria this particular action should happen. So here our requirement is, okay, let me come back here and let me access that particular template. This is not expected. Right, something got messed up here. Right, request catalog. Give me 1 second. Let me pick that particular template so that you can witness how these rules gonna impact on the form. All right, so it's loading right now. So I'm just trying to open the template used to onboard a new user, right? So one of the questions that will be asked in the particular form is what kind of device is needed for the user. Okay, I think I have some trouble with that, so I'm just gonna skip it and open it from here as a technician. So these servers are used by multiple people who more wants to train and demo, right? So people have the full liberty to do whatever changes they want, and sometimes that gets messed up. So sometimes when we do a demo, there should be some breakages. So that's absolutely fine. Anyways, yeah, since we are technicians and we should be equipped enough to fix any type of problems we have with the application. So, all right. So here we go. We got the template over here. And here comes the list of resource questions, right? So here, if you notice, it has an option to choose what are the devices required, right? So I need a desktop phone, I need a desktop, right? As soon as I pick the desktop, you see that it has loaded another field that shows up the whole list of desktop models. So you can see that this particular form is dynamic enough to show up the fields, related fields, based on the options chosen on the previous field, right? I hope you can understand what I was trying to say. So say if you pick the desktop, it's going to show up the list of desktop options. Likewise, if you pick laptop, that's going to show up the list of laptop options, right? You can see the change happening dynamically. So these are all happening in the user interface level, right? So you can compare this to a paper form, wherein if you have a paper form, you should be filling in all the details. And if a particular option or particular question is not applicable, you would say NA, not applicable, right? But in case of digital, we can leverage the option by adding similar scripts so that we can make it dynamic. So based on the input you have provided above, the rest of the form going to work accordingly, right? So yeah, that's pretty much what we do in the field and form rules. So this is going to do UI level, that is user level manipulations right on the request form, right? Okay. And yeah, that's going to be pretty straightforward. You can pick it from the right from the options available in the user interface. And the next topic we have is on change. That is, when you modify a particular value on the form, you can manipulate the rest of the fields accordingly. So this is one of the cool examples I've got for you today. So this is a dependency example, meaning using this particular function, it is possible to create relationships between one field to another, right? Okay, let's say we have three fields: country, state, and the city, right? So what we can do is we can create a relationship mapping. So when you choose a country, it will show up what are all the different states we have underneath it. Likewise, when you choose a state, it's going to display the whole bunch of cities underneath it. So you can see that I have configured that. Say if I choose India, it's going to show up Tamil Nadu. And if I show Tamil Nadu, it will show up Chennai. That's a city inside. So let me quickly show up how this is going to work out, right? All right, I'm going in here and I should have these three fields. So when I choose India, it's going to show up the state Tamil Nadu. Likewise, if I choose Tamil Nadu, it will show Chennai. And likewise, if I just switch to US, right, it's going to show up the states in the US, and likewise city. So if you have similar such requirement to show up the fields dynamically, this particular script gonna be useful. And once again, these scripts are Java scripts. right? And you may need to have a prior working experience in JavaScript, or it's easy to learn as well. So we have plenty of guides available over Google. So you can subscribe to one of them and learn about it. That's going to be simple procedure. And also, I wish to talk about this particular interface because this particular interface, we made it, useful, right? In such a way that if you want to build some scripts, it would be easy using this interface. So in the bottom of it, you can see the whole bunch of fields available. And upon choosing one of the fields, this is going to show up what are the different options available. Say if you want to get a value of the status, this particular syntax going to help you out, right? Maybe I would recommend you to explore this one, that is the writing script option. Then you can see the possibilities that you can achieve using the scripting option. So initially this may look hard and this may look a lot of coding thing, but once you start using it, this is going to be really simple. So if you already have experience in JavaScript, I would say that you can do wonders. All right. Great. I think I have a question on chat. Just a quick client request. Can we build form to public on website to create a request in HTTP? Yeah, that's definitely can be done. So we have APIs for the system. So what you can do is you can create HTML form, and if you want, you can host it on the same server on the HTTP, and you can externalize it so people can access that particular form and submit the request. So that's pretty much doable. In case if you want to see some samples or something, just let me know. I'll send it to you separately. Cool. Thank you so much. Yes, API is the answer for it. Great. Yeah, they just saw the example. Likewise, we have plenty of other examples over here. So if you're wondering how it can be done, maybe you can give it a try by just manipulating the predefined examples, right? And the third option we have in here, sorry, I just clicked on something else. Okay, the third option we have in here is the on submit, right? Say when the request is being submitted, maybe you may want to do some validations, meaning if you have a date field, you want to ensure the date whatever chosen should be lesser than the particular date, right? Likewise, if you want some validation on the numeric values whatever updated, yes, you can do all those validations, and you can stop the user from submitting the request if you have values that doesn't comply to your process or the rules, right? So those examples are available right here. If you want to do validation to the numeric field, yes, it's here. Likewise, if you want to do a date validation, that can be done. So all you have to do is copy the template and modify it as per your requirement. Maybe just give you a little idea on how this works. So here we are just providing the field name. So if you want to validate a date, if a particular date is greater than a particular date, all you have to do is just copy and paste and copy this particular additional field name alone. Yeah, that's all you got to do if you want to use the existing script, right? So as I said, if you're really interested, maybe I'll organize one scripting session, and maybe I'll organize some coding session as well. So we are doing one such session tomorrow for LATAM partners. I believe the time will not be that due to the time difference, you may not be able to join because it would be all the way in the midnight for you. But we are organizing one more session on scripting. That's one of the server scripting options available. We call it as deluge language. So I'm going to discuss on that particular topic in a bit. So we are organizing similar such workshops. It's not a webinar or it's not a training. It's a workshop wherein you'll be asked to build such scripts. So we'll be talking right from the basics, and then we will ask you to build such script right on the session. So I'll share you the details. If someone is interested in attending the workshop, I'll share you the link so that you can register yourself and you can attend it. It's a free workshop on the scripting option available in ServiceDesk Plus. All right, so this coming back to field and form rules, yes, it has options to set and unset tasks. Say if you want to set tasks based on a specific condition, I think I have some script already. So if it's a manager, then unset a specific task. right? That's exactly what this script will do, right? I'm getting the job title of the user and I'm saying if the job title contains the word manager, and if it's manager, I'm giving alert and unsetting the task. So similar such actions can be done. So yeah, I'm just demonstrating the 1%, not even 1%, 0.1% of possibilities that can be achieved using the scripting. But the possibilities are limitless, I would say, right? You can customize the form and you can do manipulations as per the requirements of the customer. And it's all required a little bit of knowledge in JavaScript, and that's going to be helpful in you know achieving the requirements whatever asked by the customers, right? All right, and the next feature that I want to talk about is on the page scripts, right? Okay, so once again, this is going to be controlling, or it can have options on anywhere in the application. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate with a couple of scripts that I have added already, right? So, okay, this is one script that I've already written. So the requirement, the use case here is, say you have service requests, right? And it will be handled by a technician. Say if the technician needs to know how to handle this, right? If we got a video right there, it would be helpful for him to refer what he has to do. So here, this particular widget has been included in this particular request form, right? So when a technician is handling the request, you would see this particular video right from here. You don't have to switch over and see it on a different place, right in this screen, and you can check it out. All right. So that's going to be pretty user friendly. And yeah, this is going to be really useful when we have it embedded over here. All right. I just want to ask you guys if you could hear me properly, because when I run the video, I'm getting the sound from a different speaker. So I'm not sure, am I still speaking on the microphone I have with me? So do you guys hear me well? All right. Yeah, I think I got it. I have a setting over here. Yes. All right. Yep. Yep. The microphone is working well. Yes, I got it. Cool. Okay, so this is one use case that we have achieved using the page scripts, right? The other use case, what we have in here is, say if a customer wants to hide the workload, say a customer is not using the time spent or workload, they want to hide it, right? So they can simply hide it by finding the ID of that particular tab, right? Don't think that it's complex. I'm going through the coding and all. So it's simple. I just right click to inspect element and I'm finding the ID, and I can go back. And yes, I can simply hide it by specifying the particular ID, right? I can show you that right now. Okay. So maybe I'll show you one of the script that I've already hide workload tab. Yes. So here we can see that it's a one-line script which is going to hide that particular tab. Likewise, if you want to show some actions, yes, that can be done. And if you want to add buttons or add an element, and if you want to hide unanswered fields, meaning you might have multiple fields that are unanswered. So if you don't want those fields to be shown up, you can make use of this. So all you have to do is just copy and paste the script. Just a one-line script. You can copy and paste it, and that's going to hide the unanswered question. So this is going to make you, make you more, you know, make you explore more options using which you can provide more customizations, right, for the users, for the customers, right? So that's going to be really useful. And once again, whatever we discussed so far is a client-side script. So whatever manipulations that you do, that will run only if you load it on the browser. All right. Okay, so now it's time to jump onto the server-side script. I'm sorry to hurry up because we have Nagaraj already waiting for me. I was supposed to complete this session by 2 o'clock. It's been 10 minutes past 2. So let me quickly go through this as well. All right, so this server-side script, yeah, we have features like custom triggers, which would be triggered when the specific criteria is met. And then we have custom actions, and that would be triggered when you click on the option. You can remember the AD Manager Plus integration. So when you click on it, it will open up a custom pop-up. From there, the action was performed, right? And then we have option to run such scripts during business rules. I mean, when the business rule is applied as well, right? And then I hope you guys would have heard about the RLC, request lifecycle. So it gives you a control on each stage or each status changes happen on the request. So during that particular status changes, it is possible to invoke some script to perform any specific action right on the same system or on a different system, right? Okay, so the classification is here based on the criteria, actions, and then in the action you would specify what you would access the input data, right? When a particular action is invoked right from a request, you would get the complete request information. And once you get that input, yeah, you have multiple options to process the data. And you can, if you want, you can use the APIs or the system or the own system, or if you want to pull up some data from the database or insert into the database, a different database, those can be performed. And then if you return something, return a response from that particular script or particular function, that's going to do some actions right on the ticket. Say, okay, so this could be a use case. Say if a customer has a different ticketing system. Okay, let's take our competitor ServiceNow. So a customer has two ticketing system, and one department uses ServiceNow, another department using ServiceDesk. So there will be a requirement wherein a ticket from ServiceDesk created with a specific criteria that should be moved to ServiceNow, right? So in such case, what we can do is we can set up some triggers so that when it matches the specific condition, it can call the APIs of ServiceNow and create the ticket, right? And then for the API invoked, the ServiceNow API invoked, it's going to return the ticket ID, the unique ticket ID, whatever generated on ServiceNow, that will be captured in the request details. So if you want to capture that in the ServiceDesk request details, you can provide some response right from the script or the function you write, right? So that can update the details, whatever you want to update back on the request. Likewise, if you want to add a note, that can be done. And if you want to add approvers, meaning say this could be one common requirement. So most other companies will have the HRMS system, right? Resource management system, right? Human resource management system. So they will have the complete hierarchy of all the users in the organization. So when you have a new request created, if you want to find who is the supervisor or the manager of the particular employee and get his email address, and if he raise a request, if the particular user raise a request, they may want to set that particular user to be an approver, right? So in such situation, we may have to set approvers dynamically by pulling the data from different systems. So for that, this is going to be helpful, right? Okay, so I do not have much time to show you or maybe to demonstrate you the coding part. So what I'm going to do is I just want to touch base one of the important options available right within the application, using which you can you can perform this. So I'm not going to give you much details over the session. If you have people interested to know about the programming and coding stuff, I'm organizing a workshop on 16th September. So I'll get you the link before end of the session. So if you guys could register yourself who more interested, I will just I'm going to get you guys on how we can code and how we can build customizations and integrations for the particular session. All right, great. Okay, so I'll just get you an understanding on what are the possibilities. So our application is integrated with Deluge runtime environment. So if you're wondering what it is, so it's a proprietary language, programming language from Zoho, right? So we developed this particular language, and this particular language will be embedded, is embedded with any Zoho product, right? And using this particular language, it is possible to build the integrations and customizations easily, right? I'm just going to show you a quick sample of such script I have written on this particular installation. So this is for creating a new request using our own APIs. So when you have a new request created, and you can parallelly have a request created using a different template, right? Maybe I'll talk about the use case right now. So hope you guys heard about the ESM, right? ESM is all about having an instance for each and every department in an organization, right? So HR team will hire users and they will create a request. And HR team will have its own tasks to offer them ID card, salary kit, and so on. So that's their set of tasks that will be performed from the HR. And then you may have to create a request parallelly on IT department to create an Active Directory account and to offer an asset and offer a laptop or a desktop or for a mobile phone and so on. So these set of tasks could be performed in IT. Likewise, you might have a payroll team and they would be creating a payroll account and salary details would be updated over there. So likewise, for one particular request, you may have to parallelly create multiple tickets on different department, right? So similar such requirement can be achieved easily by using these scripts. So even we give a custom function. All right, so they can use a custom function using which we can create requests dynamically, right? So this is one simple language. Even if you do not have prior experience on programming or coding, trust me, this will be really easy to understand, and you can start coding. You can step into the world of programming using Deluge, right? So anyways, I'm not going to spend much time on this. Yes, I just got a message from Lou, and if you guys are already into Deluge programming, yeah, that's very good. And I would recommend them to join the session that's going to happen on September 16th. I'll send you all the details. So if they're interested, they can join, and they can especially see how Deluge can be used very well into ServiceDesk Plus. All right. Okay. Now let me quickly jump on to custom triggers. Right. So the custom triggers are mostly automatic, or I mean, it's automatic. So we can specify the condition, and you can specify what script supposed to be called it, right? So I have one action already defined. Say this is for procuring Mac machine, meaning if you have a request created for a set, I mean for provisioning a laptop, and if the user requesting for a Mac machine, again it's going to create a request dynamically. Yeah, child requests, right? So here again, we can configure the criteria when this particular trigger should happen and what action is supposed to be performed. And here, if you notice, there are three options. You can call a delete script that can be picked right from custom function, or you can execute script. So if you're not comfortable in writing on Deluge, then you could use a Python script or a VB script or a PowerShell script or a batch script, pretty much anything that can run from the command line. So you can configure whatever command required to execute it, and that's going to perform the action when a particular criteria is met, right? And also you have some options right on the user interface to send an email notification when the criteria is met, and you can define whom to send an email. Likewise, you can send SMS as well. So when you use execute script option, say if you're running a Python script or a VB script, you might be wondering how to get the input data. That is, how to find from which request this particular trigger has happened, right? For that, what we do is we give this variable, and this can be configured as a command line argument. So if you're wondering what is command line argument, I guess you have some programmers, they would understand what is command line argument. So command line argument, or the parameters that we give right after specifying the file name. So command line argument can be read inside the program. That is, the code, whatever you write, can access whatever given as a command line argument, and it can extract the contents from it. So it's all related to programming stuff. So I don't want to discuss much on this, but this is how you can provide input to the script. So this particular variable will have the complete details of the request in JSON format. It will be stored in a file, temporary file, and the location of the file would be available in this particular variable. So this will be replaced with the respective path. So in your program, you got to parse it and get all the data and then whatever you want, you can do it, call the APIs or do some manipulation, and then return the response that can update the request or add a note, or it can add approvers. All right, so I'm just giving you an idea of what this functionality is all about and how it works, right? Maybe you should try out a couple of samples available in the application. That may get you a better understanding, and also you can see the possibilities, right? Limitless possibilities, I would say, right? You can see you can get using the server side scripting. And if you're wondering whether we have a set of sample scripts available, yeah, you can go to pitstop.managing.com. So this is our knowledge base, right? I'm sorry, I'm logging in as a technician, so it's going to get me a different interface altogether. So this is one good place wherein we could access any resource related to ServiceDesk. So pitstop.managing.com. If you go to ServiceDesk, and there you will see the whole bunch of forums and also the knowledge base. And here we have the topic customizations and automations, and this is going to have a whole bunch of samples that we have published already. So if you go through the list, you could get some of the requirements, whatever asked by your customer, and you can easily achieve it using the script that is available or attached with these topics. Right? That's going to be really simple. Yeah, I just posted the link on the chat. You can make a note of it and use it later. Great. All right. So that's about the custom triggers. And yeah, I can quickly run through the other options because the concept is same, but the placement of the options is different. Custom triggers, automatic. When criteria is met, it's going to perform the action. And in case of custom menu, that's next option available. So the custom menu can be invoked when there is a need, right? So I hope you have seen the option create a user with Active Directory, right? And we have to use that particular option whenever it's needed, right? So we don't want that to be automatic. So the technician would decide whether he has to invoke that and perform that particular action. In such situation, you can use custom menus, and the same script, whatever configured in custom triggers, can be configured over here as well. But this has one more advantage. The custom menus has one more advantage, wherein you can have a custom HTML file on top of it. Say if you want to show up some data prior, or if you want to consolidate the data right from the request, and if you want to let the technician to manipulate the data and then push into other system, that can be easily done using the custom menu, right? So I hope you guys can remember how I did the AD user creation. So that's going to be really straightforward. Yep. And yeah, the next topic I just want to talk about is on business rule script execution that works similar to the custom triggers, right? So in business rules, you have an option to run a custom script. The difference between custom trigger and business rules is business rules work before the request is created, meaning even before the request is created in the system, the business rule can have the control of the data, right? So using business rules, you can decide on whether you need to create the particular request in the system, or you want to skip it, or if you want to manipulate the data and then create in the system, yes, that can be done. So that's the difference between the business rule script execution and the custom triggers. So the advantage is you would get the control even before the ticket is being created, right? So this custom triggers are available with request and change management, right? And custom menu is available just on the request management, right? Business rule execution is available only for requests, right? Okay, and the request lifecycle, again, it works in the similar model. So it will get you the control whenever the status change happens, right? When a particular status has been chosen on a request, you could call a script and perform some actions on other system or in the same system. So that's going to be pretty straightforward. All right. And the last couple of topics that I want to cover really quick is on custom schedules. So that's one of the favorite options for me, because so far we have seen the triggers or menu or business rule execution or the request lifecycle all work with specific entities, either with the requests or changes or maybe both. But the one which I'm talking about right now is custom schedules. So this can work with any data from the application. That is, you can create a report. That is, you can create a query report that, of course, lets you access any data from the database. We have around 2,000 tables. So from 2,000, any of the tables, you can extract the data, and you can queue the data as an input to a script, right? So say, for example, if you have another system, and if you want the data from ServiceDesk to be in sync with other system, so what you can do is you can run a schedule. So the schedule can pick whatever request created in the particular time frame, and then it can call the APIs of the system and push into it. And vice versa, say if you want to pull some data from other application and push into ServiceDesk, that is possible as well. So I wish you guys could explore what are the options available in the custom schedule. I would recommend you guys to check the knowledge base, which I talked about, the link, whatever available, and there you can find sample scripts, and that will get you an idea of how that can be achieved. And the last important topic that I want to talk about is the APIs, right? So there are different types of APIs available in the world, right? And one API type that is being used by majority of applications is REST, R-E-S-T. It's a short form of representational and state transfer, right? So the advantage of using REST APIs is work over HTTP protocol. So almost anything that we access right now in the application is through browser, and that uses HTTP protocol. And this APIs works based on HTTP protocol as well. And you may need to know about the data inter-exchange formats as well. That is, to exchange the data between the machines, you may need a common language, right? So those common languages are XML and JSON. So XML, and JSON. So if you want, you can explore it by Googling it. So we support both formats, and sometimes only JSON or sometimes both, right? So you can see the whole bunch of actions that can be performed using APIs. So if you want to integrate with other system, or just like the requirement you have mentioned, say if you want to build a custom form through which you want to let your users to submit a request, yes, that's pretty much possible using the APIs, right? I think we have a sandbox here, and this makes the process easier. So if you want to try out the API, you can try it right here. You can see what input has to be provided. That's pre-populated. If you want, you can manipulate a little and click on try now, and that's going to do the stuff and return a response. So you can see what input has to be provided and what response you'll be getting. Yep. That is right. So yeah, this is going to be pretty straightforward. And if you want to see what's really happening in the background, you can leverage the browser's web tools, right? And you can go into the network tab and clicking on the try now. This is going to show what request is sent to the server, so that you can mimic the same using your own programming language. Say if you want to create a request, yes, I just clicked on try now, and this is going to show up what are the data submitted. So this is input data, portal ID, and we have a key that's ignored. That can be ignored. So you can use input data and portal ID. And also you may have to find the API key from the application. So the API key, which you can get right from here. And by clicking on the icon, you will see an option to generate API key. Clicking on it gets you an option to create one. All right, I guess I spent 30 minutes extra than the scheduled time. So, I've been super fast. I understand that, but still, I communicated whatever that needs to be known when it comes to integrations and customizations, right? So, probably if someone couldn't follow me, you can go through the recording, whatever I'd be sending after this training. And if you do have any questions, I'm open. So I'll share you my email address, Nagaraj email address, and the other two whom are doing the training for the past couple of days. So you can get in touch with us for any clarifications you want, right? And if you do have questions, I would recommend to ask it later on, because Nagaraj is already waiting on the call and he has a huge topic to cover as well. Naga, you there?
It's Jim here. Thank you.
All right. I'll leave it over to Nagaraj. I'm sorry for eating 30 minutes of your scheduled time, but I hope you can complete it.
Yes, yeah, all right,
Sorry.
that's fine.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem.
You can take over control right now.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. So after Naga finish up the session, maybe we'll have a casual talk if you have time, and maybe if you have any questions, you can ask us after the training. Thank you so much, guys. I'll get back to you after a hour. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I hope everyone can see my screen. Yes. So before we get started, let me just get a confirmation from you all that my voice is audible and clear to everyone, so we can start without any further delay. Yes. So am I audible to everyone, guys? Thank you. How? Thank you. How? All right. So yes, I'm sure we had a lot of knowledge all through these 3 days. Yeah, back-to-back sessions and on different topics. Even though we were, we were trying to, cover up the whole application by splitting into different meaningful sessions. We still, request you to go through these video sessions, these recordings. Anyway, we're going to be sharing that with you after this training program. So you could play back them later whenever you find or whenever you need clarifications on certain sessions we had, or even the previous session of Jace. So the last bit of part was a little fast, I understand, but you can go through that with the help of the video, playback video. So that's one of the benefit of doing an online session, right? So you could record that and you could play it back whenever you want. So that's a good thing about it. All right, so we have about 1 hour here. So today's topic about this session is troubleshooting and understanding the architecture of ServiceDesk Plus. Yes, understanding the architecture is really important if we want to effectively troubleshoot any application related issue. For example, when we know how the system works, we would be able to figure out the actual problem with more ease, and with a little bit of probing and a little bit of deductions, we will be able to get to the bottom of the issue, the core of the problem, and from then on, it's nothing but solution from there. So that's the motivation behind this particular session, and we wanted to keep it at the last session because this would mostly involve a lot of practical things. We're going to be doing a real-time test here today. So I've simulated some of the issues in our test lab environment. So as a part of this session, we're going to be seeing how to do real-time troubleshooting and solve them, right? So that's how it's going to be. All right. So to understand the architecture, this is our application architecture, as you see. So I'm sure you would have heard different applications from managed engines, hood. So almost all on-premise applications from managed engine shares the same architecture, be it Op Manager, Applications Manager, AD Manager plus Desktop Central, right? Almost all of them have the same kind of architecture. It's because they all share the same framework at the core. So for anyone who's new to framework, the terminology framework here, let me give you a little bit of introduction about it. So basically, what a framework is, it helps you. It provides the core services for the software developers, right? Basically, as a developer, if I want to develop a web-based application like ServiceDesk Plus, I need to build user authentication, user management, authorization. I need to worry about creating database connections and managing those connections. I need to worry about bundling a web server access like Tomcat, and a lot of things, right? So what makes it easy for developers is to not to worry about these common things, right? So Zoho has thought that why do we need to write the code, the same code, if that's going to be common between most of the applications, right? So such as authentication, authorization, audit, connection manager, and database persistence module, task engine, for example. So you would have heard about different services in the applications like backup, data archiving, mail fetching is also another schedule. So these schedules are actually provided by the service called task engine. So the task engine service is responsible in managing the schedules. Like once the schedule is completed, it is responsible to do the next schedule. So those pieces of operations are controlled by the framework, so that the application developer don't have to worry about that, right? They can simply concentrate, focus on the business core logic of the application, rather than worrying about these common things that are going to be replicated across different applications. So that's what our motive behind it. So the framework called Mickey is the Zoho's proprietary framework, and so the motivation behind it is write once and use it everywhere. So that's basically what the plan was. And some of the core components, as you can see in the image right there, such as security, task engine, persistence, web server, of course, for web-based application, it needs two things as an essential part: web server access and database server access. Both are provided by the framework. So our developers who are sitting there in Chennai don't have to worry about these. The ServiceDesk plus developer, they could just concentrate on building new features for help desk and asset management portal, right? So that's basically what the framework is all about. So moving on, we have, as I said, this is going to be a troubleshooting session. So I have picked some of the showstopper issues, critical issues that could be very business critical for any customer's environment, such as we could call it high priority or critical priority issues, right? We all know what the term high and critical priority. So when the application is not accessible, or when it is unavailable, then that's definitely a critical priority. So we have listed out some of such issues, based on my support experience. So we treat these issues with the topmost priority. If I'm talking about the how we work in the team, right? When a high or critical priority request comes, we tend to act immediately on it by just keeping other tickets or keeping other schedules apart, right? So we would pretty much expect the same from you, because you would also understand the importance of resolving these issues at the earliest, right? Because without service desk available for the user, obviously they can't use it. So the business function gets affected, right? They can't report any issues, or they can't use service management tool for any new request or reporting any issues, right? So it is one of the essential part of the IT service management tool. So here we have picked up 5 kinds, so such as application startup failure, mail fetching, and mail sending failure. Well, that is essential, because since it is IT service management tool, most of the users, the business end users, would like to log their tickets via email rather than logging into portal. Of course, chat is a good option, yet they'd prefer email, because they don't have to log into anywhere, right? So just from their mailbox, simply send a mail to support at xx.com or service desk at something. So that would be the most preferable option for users to log tickets. So if that gets affected, not only new request gets blocked, but also the existing request conversations between the user and the technician also gets interrupted. So it is important for us to work on it as soon as possible to get that sorted out. And then, of course, login failure. So if they can't log into system, that's equal to startup failure, because even the application is running, it's of no use if they cannot log in. So that is again considered as showstopper issues. And then backup failure and upgrade failure. This is considered to be critical when the production is down, right? For example, they are trying to do a server migration. All right, they are trying to move from PostgreSQL database into MS SQL database, but all the way through. Due to some reason, the restore got failed. So at that point of time, the only option for them to go back to the old one, like PostgreSQL, if there was if that was the database. So going back is one way, but then even when going back, there are trouble, right? Like doing a restore. So that is when we have to step in and consider that as an high priority. And not only then, we also could face the similar problem during upgrade failure. Yeah, so if you have had previous experience working with managed engine ServiceDesk application, you could see we send a standard instructions to roll back the upgrade failure. So most of the cases it goes through fine, but in in some environmental specific cases where you could face restore failure. So in such cases, until we restore the data back, the production is down. So if that crosses the downtime they had scheduled, then it's definitely considered to be a high priority, right? And finally, application crash or performance degradation. Well, I would say out of all these issues, the one that users get frustrated the most is the performance degradation, right? Because when application is slow, well, nobody wants to be in that position, right? When they click on something and waiting for ever to come back is such a pain. So nobody wants to tolerate that, and we very well understand that we need to act upon it accordingly, because most of the cases at the moment we don't have any known performance issues yet in the customer's environment. The performance issue could happen due to the data also, right? The amount of data they have in their database, due to multiple different applications sharing the same database server, could contribute to slowness or high CPU hit on the server itself. So there could be possible reasons why application or ServiceDesk could be slow at times. So at any cost, we need to be in a good position to help them understand why this is happening and what to do to fix it, right? So we've got some automatic ways of collecting logs with just a single invoke of a URL. So we're going to be going through all of that today in the coming hours. So let's get ready for that. And so do you guys have any questions so far before we continue? Are we all good to continue? All right. Thank you, Hav. And so for an effective troubleshooting, I said one must know how the system works, right? So another thing that contributes to the effective troubleshooting is probing, right? Because from a customer perspective, anything that they say could be their perspective, definitely, because they don't know at times the difference between the terminologies used. For example, they could say ServiceDesk is unavailable simply, but what does that actually mean from troubleshooting perspective? Well, it could mean the application is not starting, or the application is not allowing them to log into it, right? It could mean both. So probing plays a key role here. So it's important that how one effectively troubleshoot the issue by getting down to the bottom of the issue, by narrowing down all the possibilities or eliminate the possibilities of the error to get down to the root cause of the issue. So that is how one would would remain a successful troubleshooter, in my opinion. So being in support for the last 8 years, so I've learned it very much. So one, if you want to effectively understand not just applications, any issue for that matter, right? Even if let's say an engine gets failed, right? A motor engine gets failed, you first need to know how that works. So you need to get the complete idea of the architecture before you actually step in on or start troubleshooting, right? So that applies for anything in terms of troubleshooting in this world. So here in our case, ServiceDesk is not starting. So the first question would be, what happens when you try to access a login page, right? So that would be my first question. So if they say there is no login page, there's no option to enter the credential, then that makes sense, right? Then it could be definitely something to do with the startup failure, but we cannot conclude that yet. It's because since users would access application from their workstations over the network, because service desk is hosted on a server somewhere within the network, but they don't directly log into a server and access it all the time, right? So they do access it from their workstations, and especially at these times during the work from home situations, right? So there could be a lot of reasons or a lot of possibilities that their VPN gets disconnected, or there could be possible reasons for VPN failure, connectivity failure between their network, the office network, and the home network. So we first need to figure out whether it is due to network issue, or whether there could be any, or if the DNS manager configured on their particular machine do not have mapping to the service desk URL, right? So we get to start out all this before confirming this is a startup issue. So in my case, I would check whether they're able to access the login page from their workstation. If not, I would then ask them to check if they can log into the server, right? If the administrator can log into the service desk server, if they do, then I will ask them to access the application directly on the server using localhost URL. So when they do, that would give you a clear idea whether they can access Service Desk Plus or not. So even then, if localhost doesn't work, then we can come to a conclusion that it is definitely a startup problem. So we have to proceed towards startup troubleshooting from here on, right? So next thing would be definitely checking the status, because Service Desk Plus, when it is installed, it is registered as a Windows service. So Windows service is registered for it, called a Manage Engine Service Desk Plus service. So you could go ahead and start the service, or in fact check the service before you start it, because in most of the cases, the service could be set to the startup type of the service is set to manual, whereas after a patch upgrade or something, the server could have rebooted and the SDP service would never come back. So those are the possible causes. But then it's a good attempt to try it first, to check the service status, and then start it once. Well, you could immediately check the result of it within a couple of seconds. If you just go back and refresh that services console, you would know whether the service is stayed starting, or if it if it has gone back to stopped status automatically. So you could check that out right there. But while doing that, there is another benefit too, because we have a special class bundle with our application. So during startup, you would notice that. So when you install the application, wrapper class services are bundled. So that's a third party for registering services for a Tomcat application server. So once that service is registered, so any activity on the service status, right, being automatically stopped or started, so everything would be recorded in a file called wrapper log. So I'm sure you would have heard about this with other applications too, right? If you had previous experience working with any Tomcat application, so all of them are stayed or at the development level, you could sense that they're all started from the command prompt, right? Mostly from the batch files. But in the real production environment, we cannot leave it like that. We need to give an option to start it as a service, because nobody stays logged in on the server, right? So the server needs to run automatically with its services console. So that's basically why we need the services to be registered. But enough about it. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if the service is stopped, or if it immediately stopped after you start, the very next log file you need to analyze is wrapper log. All right. So let's get to it immediately. And then there is another way to check it also. Even if you find some trouble, or if you struggle finding the services and trying out, then you could simply use this batch file. This is what the batch file I was talking about. So run.bat from command prompt. So when you open command prompt, make sure you open it with the elevated mode, run as administrator, and then launch this batch file. This would start the application for you. And if there are trouble, if there are errors, or if there is any problem starting the application, it would throw you right there. So that would help you troubleshoot the issue better. So before analyzing the root causes or possible root causes, let's jump into one of our simulated server environment to troubleshoot a startup issue. All right. So are you all ready? All right. So assume this is an customer environment. I think it's running Windows Server 2016 Data Center Edition. So let's get in to start the service. Well, it's my habit that I start command prompt before I do anything. So this came out of it. But as per the troubleshooting steps, we will go into services first. Okay, we faced startup yesterday and our team do work. We'll do uninstall and do follow suit instruction today. Long run experience. Okay, what does it say? Okay, this is our community basically, but we will get to that later because we have a different area where we have our. All right, that's fine. Okay. All right, let's proceed with the issue and we will get back to this a little later. All right, so first up is checking the service status. And this is the service name, Manage Engine ServiceDesk Plus. And the startup type is set to automatic though, but still the status is stopped, right? So as I said, let's go ahead and hit start once. So as I said, within a couple of seconds, you would know the result because if you go back and hit refresh, you could see whether it is staying started or stopped as it is here. So it is stopped. That means it doesn't start. So the very first log file we need to look at is the wrapper log. So you got to get to the home folder, which is program files, manage engine, service desk. That's the home folder, and then logs directory. So there you have a bunch of logs for different activities it is recorded. But we are going to be looking at one log here called wrapper log, and that gives you actually the status about the service interaction or service activity. So here you can see at 9:22 as per the server time, there was an attempt made to start it. That was us. And then it says problem while starting server. So it immediately halted, but there's not much information here as far as I could see. So we could jump on to the next troubleshooting immediately, which is opening or launching the application from a command prompt console. So that is the next thing we're going to do. By the way, this is the wrapper log. It gives you the service activity. If you just check back in the past, you could see that the service activity, if it started or if it stopped, if the machine's shut down, everything can be tracked down from here. All right, so let's open up a command prompt in the run as administrator mode. There you go. And then get to the bin directory. It's on the home directory of Manage Engine ServiceDesk Plus. And then you can just use the run.bat. All right. So you could see here, the port 80 is occupied. That's because we don't know yet, because port 80 is what is given to ServiceDesk Plus and it is blocked. Could be many reasons. So let's find out what. But do you suggest to change the port here? Do you suggest to change the port number? If at all it says port occupied. No, right? Because if you change the port number, there are a lot of challenges or a lot of consequences, I should say, by just changing the port number just like that, because users are used to access the application without any port number, because when it is running on 80 or 443 if it's HTTPS, then users don't usually enter the port number following by the URL, right? They just enter the URL like how we access manageengine.com. Do you actually enter any port number following by that? No. That means if it takes you to HTTPS, the default port number for HTTP is 443 and default port number for HTTP is 80. So if you just change the port number to 8080 or something, right, that's going to create an impact, because users would have bookmarked the services URL in their homepage or created a shortcut icon on their desktop, which they would usually access to log into the portal to raise request or track down their request that is submitted for approval and everything. But if you just change the port, that would that would not work for them. When the next time they just click on the URL or the bookmark URL or the icon, it would take them nowhere. So we don't want that to happen. And not only that, that's the first case, but the second scenario is is much more impactful than this one. It is the agent communication back to server, right? Because I'm sure you would have had the session on asset management. I would have discussed about agent configuration section, where we register server details when we actually create the agent and deploy, right? Assume you already deployed all the agents in the workstations in your network with port 80. And then if you change it back to port 8080 afterwards, due to this particular problem, well, all the agents that were already deployed with port 80 would no longer be able to communicate back to the server. That's because they're all not updated with the recent change from the server. Well, of course, there are instructions available to update them back without reinstalling those agents. Even then, is that an efficient way of doing it? Definitely not. So here, if the server is dedicated for ServiceDesk Plus, then you have to reclaim the port 80 at any cost. That's what we have to do. So port 80 is occupied at this particular case, and we want to find out what causes that, right? So there are some commands available, the network commands, such as netstat, right? That gives you a good idea about whether a port is occupied by any application, or if it's just used by Windows services or something like that. So along with that, there is a command to filter out port number, because when you just launch it without anything, it just lists out everything. So yeah, even in our case, it just listed everything. That's because every line contains 80 in it. It's because the IPv6 address of the machine has 80 in it actually. So that's causing it. So that's fine. But in real-time environment, the chances for it very less. In customer environments, I say. So you could see that the local address 000 80 is actually listening. That means it's waiting for connection, and that is running on the process ID 4. So this is what you need. Process ID 4 is actually using port 80 in this case. So to find out, you can open up the task manager with the and there is a column PID. If you don't see that, just right click on it and select it from the columns available and sort it. So since it is not sorted already, just go ahead and hit it, and that's going to sort by PID. And there you go. As suspected, process ID 4 is actually used by system service. Well, this doesn't give us much in this case, because the system service could be anything, right? If you just open to the location, it points to kernel, N2S kernel service, NT kernel system service, so which is not advisable to kill right there, because without knowing what service is actually associated to it. But this gives you an idea that some Windows or Microsoft native service is using that port for sure. So that's what it tells you. Then it is good enough information for us to start with the troubleshooting. Even though we don't know the actual service yet or application that is using the port 8, but with a little help of Google, you'll be able to figure it out, because there are very few services, Windows services, that use port 80 by default, or Microsoft services, native services that use port 80 by default. So the first thing you need to do, you got to check whether IIS running on the server. It's a Microsoft web server. If that is running, that could possibly take in the port 80. So let's confirm that there is no IIS on this server. So just strike it out of your list. And then the very next one could be you have to check whether there are any Microsoft applications running on it, like SQL Server, anything like that. So to better check that, you can open up Services Console and just type SQL, and there you go. So this particular machine runs SQL Server installation in it. Well, that gives you a chance to identify and fix the problem. Not all SQL services take port 80. There are specific ones such as this reporting service over here. So SQL Server reporting services generally use port 80 to run. And you could ask me a question. So how has it been running so far then? Right. So this service SQL Server is not installed all of a sudden, but it's been there for a while, and ServiceDesk was also running there long. So how did it took over all the time, right? So remember, even Manage Engine is registered as a service, but then the preference is given over to the NT service over here. See that? So whatever logon server as given here is what will be given the first preference. So the local services are then given preferences over that. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have two services, one from Manage Engine, one from Microsoft, when the machine gets rebooted, the preference given over to the native service. So that gets started first and takes the port, and then anything that follows or any other application that was previously running on the same port would remain unavailable. So that's basically how it happens. And killing this or stopping the SQL reporting to services is not going to create an impact, because this reporting to services is purely for reporting purposes. So even killing that would not stop SQL Server on this particular instance in any case. All right. So just killing that and then doing another net stat would help you understand it. There you go. So port 80 is now available. So let's go ahead and start it now. Run.bat again. Good sign, because it doesn't say port occupied anymore. Oh, but it says problem while starting server. So there are something else. So let's go back to your presentation and see what was the first cause. Yes, web server port is occupied. That was the first case we discussed. And the second case could be DB connection failure. Third case could be Microsoft SQL Server startup issues. All right. So, but it doesn't give us any much information right here. So this is when we need to access the server out log to find what has happened here, right? So you would have to go back to your logs directory, and there you have again bunch of logs. So from here you would have to pick up server out 0. So there could be about 50 logs by default, but the one you would need is the server out 0. That's because server out 0 is the most recent written logs, and that records our most recent activities. So opening it up, and you need to get to the bottom of the log to find out the actual exception. And I'll give you guys a keyword to look for. So going to start server, I'm going to start. There you go. SDP server going to start. So that's the keyword for you guys. If you want to track down the startup activity, right, from the logs, if you want to find out what is happening, there could be a lot of things before that, but this is where it starts. If you see that it starts from thread number 1. So this is when the actual startup classes begin. When the application gets started, it loads all the necessary configuration files, and then it also do the database check. So during that database check, we could actually see what is going on here. Right. Actually, the recent activities here. Yes, there you go. So it does check for the database, and there is an exception while initializing the database. And the cost by line over here, right? This actually gives you meaningful information, the error in a meaningful way, such as this is again done by the developers. If it's generic message like this one, it's from the Microsoft SQL side. So it tells you that the user does not have permission to perform the action. So what user does it talk about? Does it talk about service desk user? Definitely not, because it's something to do with the SQL server connectivity, or SQL Server database. So we have to check the connectivity between the ServiceDesk database and the SQL database. So there is a batch file for it. Change dbserver.bat, the batch file that helps you. Okay, there you go. This tells us the application is installed in a SQL Server database, which is hosted in this server, runs on port 1433, and then the database name is this. The credential used here is this. So the user that the log talks about is this user, SDP, which is the SQL Server login. So let's go ahead and hit test to check the connectivity. Yes, connection established. That means physically the server is able to communicate with the database. And then when I hit say, there you go. So that's when the error occurs. It says create master key failed. So that definitely is something to do with the database access or permission to access the database. So without any further delay, let's get logged into the database to find out what is the privilege or permission given to that account, and what is the least privilege that is expected for it to function well. Right? We will understand that. So based on your experience, what do you guys suggest? What role do you think we should give? So with the help of SQL Server management tools like SQL Server Management Studio, you would be able to connect to the database. You'll be able to connect to the database that's running there. So it's our test environment, development environment. And you could see that database is running here. And to access the logins, the credentials, you could go in under logins, the security, and there you go. SDP is the login available there. So access the properties, and you could see the server roles given to that. So there's no server role given to this login, because the login is going to be used purely for Service Desk Plus database alone. So there is no need to enable any server role like server admin or sysadmin. So that's very much expected. But then there should be a level of permission given to the database access at least. For example, even though you don't give permission to other databases like the master and stuff, you still have to give DB owner permission for this particular login, right? At this case, you can see that there's only data reader and data writer permission given. So what is actually expected is the DB owner. Even if you don't give out the other two, just DB owner permission is alone is enough, along with public, of course. So public is something that is like a default one. You can't uncheck that. So like a guest role in Service Desk Plus, you could imagine. And these are something like a technician role, right? So for the minimum privilege it requires is the DB underscore owner role should be given to the database in order for it to work. And yep, so we give that. So let's try it out. So before we do that, let's do the change dbserver.bat again to check the database connectivity. All right, that seems good. So let's do a run dot bat again and see what happens this time. So far we have seen two issues. One was with the port, and the second one was to do with the database user role. So you can usually, categorize it under MS SQL startup related problems, because the problem was not on the service desk side. The problem was on the the membership, the role access used in the service desk database. Yeah, this looks good, really. Still starting. So in the meantime, we'll take some of the questions from our attendees. All right. So I think we answered that one. No, I think we didn't. So we faced startup yesterday, and our team do work with troubleshooting. We'll do uninstall and follow steps that is instructed today for longer run experience. All right. Okay. So we first want to find out what is happening. Do you have the logs? Like as I said, in startup failure cases, you could execute run.bat from the command prompt. All right. So when you do that, it actually gives you what error it is. If not, it'll at least say problem while starting server or something. Then you could immediately go back to the server out log and check it. So server out log would have recorded what has happened during that particular instance of failure. So from there, we could analyze, whether it is a known problem or whether it is a database related issue or whether it is something else, right? And then proceed with troubleshooting there, because just doing uninstall may resolve the problem, but that's not recommended. If it's in a real time customer environment, let's say a production environment, if there is a startup failure, uninstalling and reinstalling is not at all recommended, right? Maybe as a last thing that if we find out that the files are actually corrupt, then you could go for that option. But without consulting with the team, or without consulting with the support team or the development team, so I would not recommend you going for uninstall option. Yeah. All right. Another question from Deo King Hong. We have been having this issue when install SDP Enterprise Edition into server running Windows 2019 Standard Edition. It's running well. When we reinstall Professional Edition, kindly check. Okay. So what you're trying to say is Enterprise Edition doesn't work, but Standard Edition or Professional Edition gets installed successfully. Well, again, as it's the same response, what I gave for how. When it is not working, we need to get the log. We need to check the server out log, like I checked over here, right? You got to go for the keyword that says going to start. So it'll say like this: HTTP server going to start, and then from there, you could actually go to scroll down to the bottom to find out if you see anything like exceptions like this, right? It would usually start with exceptions like this, like when it says a bunch of lines starts with at, right? It is usually locating the position of the class file where the error was occurred. So you could easily identify whether there is an exception in the log or not. But in any case, we are there to help you, so you could get back to us for assistance. All right, so questions are taken care. Let's get back to the installation. Welcome. Yep, there you go. The application is finally started. Sounds really good. So let's go ahead and log into it then. Sounds good. So let me log in. Right, so spinning around. So let's get back to the presentation and see what are the other possible issues. So the other one would be something to do with the license expiration, but we no longer have that issue documented here. Just in case if any of your customers run older version of ServiceDesk Plus, right, would still have this problem, because if license is expired in ServiceDesk Plus, the application would not start anymore. But that's been taken care from version 9.4. So customers whose license got expired, it would switch back to, or it would turn up to free edition automatically. So they don't find startup issues anymore. But in the free edition, it would allow only one user to log in, and that would be a standard edition. So that's basically what happened from the recent time, because we've started getting more and more issues from customers with the license expiration scenario. So to let them handle it with their own hands, because they just need to get the license and apply it, right? Simple. But in earlier cases, we had to get involved to help them start the application by applying a license. So that was a different scenario. Now that's been taken care, but documented here just in case if you have any old customers, any customers are running ServiceDesk Plus older versions like 9 or 9.1, could still face issues usually due to that. All right. Okay, so that's about ServiceDesk startup failures. Let's move on to the next one. Yes, next one is a very important one. Login failure. Again, the user perspection would be the same for this case. They just simply say unable to log into ServiceDesk. But then we have to step in and ask whether they're reporting startup failure or login failure. So a simple question would help you understand it. You just ask them whether they can see the login page, right? If they say yes, then it's a login failure. Definitely don't have to worry about startup failure troubleshooting at all. So here in our case, let's assume they said they're able to see the login page. Then the next step would be asking them to try with their different accounts, because usually customers don't get back to us saying they are not able to log in with their local account, right? They don't do that because as many other applications are registered with their Active Directory or Windows services, they prefer to use Active Directory authentication for ServiceDesk Plus also. So they'd use mostly their ID credentials. If that failed to log in, they would get back to us. So we would have to analyze what went wrong. So in most of the cases, it could be something to do with the domain controller, reachability. But there are cases where that particular user's AD credential might have locked out, right? So to eliminate that possibility, probably ask them to try with a different AD account, maybe their colleague's AD account, ask them to log into their ServiceDesk portal. If it works for them, then it's not a problem with the ServiceDesk and Active Directory communication. It might be something to do with that particular user or login alone. So in that case, you'd have to find out whether it is locked out or it is disabled or anything else, for that matter. And there is also another thing. We could ask them to try and log into local account, right? That's because, AD authentication is what customer would prefer, but we by default have a local account, authentication available for every user that's there. All they need to do is enable the local authentication for their ServiceDesk, right? So few environments would leave it enabled, but few environments, after they're going live, due to security, risks or due to other reasons, they don't want users to use a local authentication, so they would disable it, right? But otherwise, if it is enabled, you could ask them to try their local account password, because when it was imported the first time, the password will be generated and sent to the email address. So they could just check back the email to find the local authentication password. Well, the luck for that is very less, because most of the times they wouldn't be able to recover the local authentication password. Either the notification was not enabled during the import, or mail server setup would not be done, so notification wouldn't have been sent. So those are the possible reasons they wouldn't have the local authentication password in the email. So then obviously we are left with one option. We have to just do something to get into the ServiceDesk list. So resetting the password is the only option. Yep. In our case, again, yes, we are unable to log in here with a domain account. So I think we pretty much are there or on page with this issue or the scenario we're discussing. So the next step we need to do is to get into the database, connect to the database, and then reset the local authentication password for any administrator account. So for resetting the local authentication password, we have to execute a couple of queries. And these queries are available in our pitch stop portal, which I will take you there in a minute. And possible root causes are, as I said, the domain controller could not be reached, right? Or there could be problem with the credentials applied to communicate with the domain controller. So let's see what happens here. So since we have the database opened up already, we can just write a new query. And to access those queries, you could get to the pitch stop portal. Just access pitchstop.manageengine.com. That is our home page, and you could see different products there. So you would have you could get help from different products, knowledge base articles, and everything. And the chat over here will also help you. You can initiate a chat request from here. So we would be there to assist you. But at the moment, we are going to click on the product ServiceDesk Plus because we've got a bunch of knowledge base articles here. So from the team, I am the one who's managing these articles. So if you find anything not there, if you find any modification required for any of the old articles, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you my email address at the towards the end of this session. So write an email to me if you need any new articles or new knowledge base articles to be there, or need access to anything specific. You can just write an email to me. But for now, we've got a bunch of video tutorials, how-to tutorials here. So just look for maybe reset password or password, type anything. So you'll be prompted with a list of articles. Just choose the appropriate one, and you get the actual KB with the tutorial, the video tutorial. Since I'm already familiar with the instructions, I'm not going to go through step by step due to time constraints. So I'm going to jump into the queries right away. But I would request you guys to go through each step, because there are a lot of things to follow. Because if you just jump onto the query, you might have to go back to to reading from step one. So to avoid that, just use the queries. Again, for the queries, you could see that it is a build specific. So you would want to understand what build you're currently running and then execute the query accordingly. So here we are after 11.1, so I'm going to pick up this one. But if you're before 11.1, like an older version of ServiceDesk, you would have to go for the previous one. So this is a select query, not going to do any harm. It's going to help you find the accounts that are org admin accounts. So here we've got around 3 org administrators in this account: myself, Jay, and a default administrator account credential. But for this demonstration, I'm going to use the default one. So what we actually basically need from here is the login ID. So I'm going to note down the login IDs too, and then proceed further. Because we know the login name administrator, but we don't know the password yet. So by doing the reset of this, the password will be set to admin ADMIN. So it's a MS SQL database, so I want to execute this one. If it's PostgreSQL database environment, you would want to go with this one. So let me copy this query first. All right. So once it is reset, the password is going to be actually admin. So that is why I would want you to go through the instructions step by step, so you would know what password is set to, right? So it's ADMIN all lowercase. So going back here again, just want to clear out this current query, and then paste the new one with the login ID in place. So login ID is 2. So that is the account that I'm going to get the password reset to. Execute. 1 row affected. That sounds good. All right, so let's go ahead and log in now. So remember, we are logging in using local authentication. I'll just refresh the login page once. So username would be admin, sorry, administrator, password would be admin, and local option. So that's the scenario I talked to you about, right? So most of the environments would not have or leave local authentication enabled, once they go live. So the same happened in this environment too, but it's all for good because we want to know how to enable local authentication, right, from the database. If you're logged into it, you will know how to control that by going into self-service portal settings. But in this case, we cannot log in. So again, everything we need to do via database queries. So there is a very next step. If local authentication is disabled, you can execute this to enable it. Just simply copy and paste the query. Execute. And again, one row affected. That means it has executed it. And so this particular change requires a restart of the application. That's because the usual configuration is actually set to no, right? The last time it was restarted. So but since it is enabled from the backdoor from the database, application would not have that in the cache. So application would have the settings as false in the data in the DB cache. So we got a stop and start to rebuild, to allow the system to rebuild the cache, so that the updated entries gets rebuilt on there. So I'm going to just stop it and start the application back, because you could notice that in the drop down there is no local authentication. Even though we enabled it from database, it requires a restart the changes to take effect. Well, there you go. It started now. So let's try again. Try with the local account. Okay, this is not what we reset. So administrator, admin, and yep, there you go. Local authentication is there now, and this account was tied up domain. So go ahead and hit it, and there you go. So we logged into ServiceDesk Plus now. And as I said earlier, the license violation over here indicates that the license got expired. Originally, there were 4 technician logins there, but due to the license restriction, it switched to free edition with 1 technician login access. So just ignore the license violation error for now. So we got into ServiceDesk Plus successfully. The very next thing we have to do is find out what's wrong with the Active Directory integration, right? So the AD login is not working anyway. So we got to go ahead and troubleshoot that. So the easiest way to find out the communication between AD server and SDP is by doing a import of users, and not the import itself, but you could just click, verify the domain controller details over here. If you don't find any difference, just go ahead and hit now, import now. And on this screen, you can see it listed out, the use or the OUs, the organizational units from the domain, right, from the Active Directory domain. But don't believe it yet, because it again has fetched it from the cache. So by doing a refresh, it actually does the communication. Trying to refresh the OUs list once again by connecting to the domain controller. This will give you a clear picture whether it is able to communicate with the AD or not. Right? This is an easy way to find out. All right. So it says could not bind to AD server as expected. So that was because the domain controller over here used is actually incorrect. It's no longer valid. So the domain controller has now been changed. So since ServiceDesk Plus allows only one domain controller to configure, you don't have an option to configure multiple domain controllers there. So the domain controller was changed to SDP-Win-1. So now let's do another refresh by changing the domain DC details. So do another refresh. Yep, there you go. It's quick than expected. To test it out, you can also do an import. So I'm going to pick up the manual user import of one user, just my account, and do a start import. So there you go. Overwritten records, updated records 1. So that is a good sign. Now let me try to log in back with my admin account, my domain account. There you go. All right. So that seems very good. And we were able to log into ServiceDesk Plus with a AD account. So that's how you troubleshoot login failure issues. I see we got a couple of pings. Hi, one of our office has been powered off. Please go ahead. Sorry, our office are out of electricity for a while and just be back. Okay. So how long has it been since you guys disconnected? There's no worries. Anyway, we have the recording, so you could play it back. Okay, just 5 minutes is fine. So those 5 minutes, you could actually just rewind from the recorded session video and play it back to you guys. All right. So that's a good thing about online session, right? Cool. All right. We just got a couple of more things to do before we wind up. So then the next one is the mail fetching, which is another business critical issue. As far as support concerned, we treat it with high priority, because not only new tickets, but also the existing tickets, replies, conversations gets affected by this. So troubleshooting would begin with basically identifying the connectivity. So the first step you do is to save the settings. So when you do save the settings from the configuration page, it actually validates the credentials with the mail server, whether it is Exchange or online mail servers like Office 365 or Gmail servers. It does the validation at that point of time and gets back and provides whatever the response is there. So a response is posted right there when you click save. So we're gonna do that, and then of course, based on the message that comes out, you could then proceed with further troubleshooting. So some of the possible root causes are here, but we will get back to that in a while. All right. So let's go ahead and see what is the problem with the mail server here. So assume this environment again reported. Don't worry about it. This particular environment has all sort of issues in the world. So right from startup failure all the way to performance issues, everything is there in this particular setup. So all right. So yeah, this is the mail server settings. It's already stopped, so we don't have to do stop fetching. We can simply save, hit save over here. this is a Exchange server environment running IMAP S services. If it's taking a while, usually there is a problem with the connectivity. So that you can say from the first look itself. But then, yes, we have to wait patiently because it's going to post a response on the page. Based on that message, we could determine what it could be. Yeah. So it says host unknown or not reachable. So it could be either connectivity problem, like the host provider over here is invalid, or it is not reachable. So to find out the reachability, we could do a simple ping test. On the server, the response sounds good, so that means reachability is fine as far as availability of the server is fine. But then since it uses IMAP as port 993, right? It uses IMAP protocol. We have to check the port connectivity, port availability, or service availability. So there is a telnet command available to check whether a particular port is open on that particular server or not. So in this case, 993 on win-1 will tell us whether the port is available there or not, and then we can take our troubleshooting towards. Usually, this happens by two reasons. One, if there is a firewall in between, right? If the firewall doesn't accept new connections or doesn't allow inbound connections to the Exchange server, it could happen. The second case could be there's no firewall, there's no need to worry about the firewall, but the service itself is not up there, right? The IMAP services could be down. That is another possible reason. So let's get into the server. Let's log into the server physically and check it out. Since it is Exchange server, we got access to it. So open up services console. All right, look for Microsoft services. Yes, there you go. So Microsoft IMAP 4 is actually not running, and the reason could be startup type was set to manual. Well, as I said earlier, this could be most of the cases where after a restart of the server or something, the service wouldn't come back because if it is set to manual. So it's always important you set it back to automatic. And then start the services back. So this was the reason why the telnet wasn't successful. So let's go back to our application over here and do a telnet again. There you go. This is a good sign. So that means application is should be able to connect to the mail server now. So let me do the save again. Oh, hey. So this time again, but with a different error message, could not find valid certification path to the requested target. Kindly configure to apply trusted or self-signed certificate. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this one because this is one of the generic exceptions when you want to, establish communication from one server to another server with SSL environment, right? It's a server that you're trying to connect to has SSL certificate in it, or service that you're trying to connect to has SSL certificate assigned to it. Then the public certificate of the a public copy of the public certificate of the SSL certificate need to be added to the source application, the application that is trying to establish a connection with. So in our case, ServiceDesk Plus is trying to establish a secure connection, but it does not have a public server copy, a public server certificate of the SSL certificate of the Exchange server. So that's causing the trouble. So you got to have the certificate generated. So we have a bunch of instructions available for it also, including the video tutorials. Again, I would recommend you to go back to pitstop.manageengine.com and look for the certificate or trusted certificate, mail server. So any keyword, any possible keyword related to the error, would result in a successful search result, would bring back the article that we are talking about. So so I'm going to just say certificate and whatever comes at the bottom. So it's got a video tutorial also, along with instructions, step-by-step instructions with screenshots, how to execute the batch file, and how to generate the certificate for both Windows and Linux environment. So by following these instructions, you'll be able to generate a trusted certificate, and then add it to the Java Trust Store, which is JRE lib security folder. So under JRE lib security, you have to copy that certificate and then restart it. So if you do that, you're done. You're almost started work with the particular. This could happen between the ME applications also, right? For example, if you run ServiceDesk Plus with the server certificate or SSL certificate, and then if you don't have the root certificate of that server certificate in the default key store, then you would have to generate the JSE cert and then add it to the restores. Trust store. So that is how basically it works. It's a common step available for any web applications that want to interact over SSL communication. So that was the first case. Could not find valid certification path, and then we discussed about problem connected to mailbox. There is another one, authentication failure. In case if the password of the mailbox is changed, right, you would often get this error. So it's advisable to keep the mailbox account to never expire, the password to never expire, or if at all if it's changed, you got to come back to ServiceDesk to update the password. And then connection success, but mail is not fetched, right? In this case, we require all sort of logs available in the application, because when mail fetching is not working, but the connection is fine, right? The connection is all good. Still, it is not it is unable to process the email. That could be due to many reasons. One could be due to the content of the email, or the size of the email, or if the email contains any huge attachments in it. ServiceDesk Plus would try all its available memory to process that, and finally, if it still couldn't, assume it's got 100 MB of attachment in the email, right? So it is hard for it to process all that. So it would definitely fail or crash. So in that case, we have to handle it by email specific. That is reason, and then we proceed towards it. So it's important we get the server out log again for this case. So get the server out log to troubleshoot the issue further. So I think so we have a fair idea with the list of issues available here. So the very next one is the application performance issue. So I would say this is a key one that I wanted to communicate with all our partners. That's because when customers report performance related issues like slowness, we want to act upon it as soon as possible. That's because it is more vulnerable, to increase the frustration towards us rather than any other issues we discussed so far. So we made it easy for you to collect the information we need, right? Basically, so we're not just asking you to do it without any help from our side. So again, we're going to help you, all we can to fix it as soon as possible. But to get the information we need at the first instance is what I'm stressing about. See, what I'm talking about is when there is a slowness issue reported to a customer, when you have hands-on to the server or to the environment at the first instance itself, just recreate the issue and get the logs that we want, right? So the logs I'm talking about is it's the URL right here. So performance debug URL. Just invoke that URL from a browser that is already logged in with the admin account, right? So that would collect the logs in the background. That would trigger the logs that need to be collected. All the debug logs would be collected at one instance, and then would be available under logs folder. So then you just have to go ahead and zip the folder and send it over to us. That's all you need to do. And we would discuss some of the application crash or performance degradation issues here quickly, because you're running out of time already. So usually you first have to find out whether the performance issue reported is due to I mean, if it's the network slowness, or if it is specific to one particular application, right? So you would have to ask them whether the slowness is only when accessing a particular tab in Service Desk Plus, or in general. Doesn't matter which tab you hit, it always takes a minute or two to come back, or if it takes more than 40 seconds, 50 seconds to respond back, even that is considered to be slowness, right? We don't want to wait 50 seconds for an action or a particular page to respond to us. So we still consider that as a performance issue. So you would have to figure it out. And then next question would be, if it crashes, right? Like I said, if an email contains huge attachment in it, it would definitely crash. But then what happens basically is, if it crashes, means it stops and it starts back again. So if you can find out how frequently it crashes, maybe every 5 minutes it crashes. That means, so the application comes back, and then it is trying to process the same email, it crashes. Then again comes back, process the same email, and then crashes. So it goes on a loop, right? So you could find out that from the frequency of the problem occurrence, you could actually get an idea. It could be whether due to a schedule, because mail fetching schedule runs every 1 minute. Even that could contribute to problems. So with the help of these informations, you would be in a good position to understand the problem that the customer is reporting to. And then one other issue is CPU slowness, or the server CPU would be constantly hitting on 100% or over 80%. Well, there are chances where application could contribute to that as well. So in all such cases, we need the performance logs, because we collect different logs like database connection logs, thread dump logs, and then stuck threads logs. Stuck threads actually tells you if anything, any action in the application, takes over 30 seconds, right? We immediately record the complete details about what action was it and how long it took to complete, and what were the queries run at the background, right? The long run queries were usually contribute to slowness. So these are the details that are collected when you execute performance debug URL action. So that is why we recommend you to do it when you get the chance. Because what usually happens is, in the cases I've faced with the customers, we get the logs, but we don't see the debug logs required there to analyze, right? Then we ask the customer to recreate the issue or wait for the issue to happen again and then get the logs. So multiple iteration could contribute to frustration, obviously. So we don't want that to happen. And of course, the information is available right within our knowledge base article, so you don't have to go anywhere else. You could simply search for performance. If you spell it right, you'll get it. Excuse me. So performance. There you go. Performance debugging from version 9306. And this is the URL I was talking to you about. As you can see in the image screenshot, servlet space performance debug. So just hitting that from a browser that is already logged in with the admin account. That's an important point. So you would get all the logs generated under the logs folder, and you could then email it to us. We will take it up from there. All right. So that's basically what we wanted to discuss about performance-related issues. Some of the root causes are no managed connections. When the database, as I said, when the database is tables are locked up by different activities like indexing and something, right? Because some environments do run their own database table indexes. If that particular schedule has logged ServiceDesk tables, then application, when users access the same table through ServiceDesk Plus, would have to wait for that particular table to get freed up, right? So that could mostly contribute to it. So enabling read committed snapshot isolation would help you solve that. So that was one. And then thread lock. Yep, if more than one, if there could be a thread, thread dump deadlock situation due to overlapping of schedules could happen. And then slowness due to long running queries. If queries run at the background, takes more time to fetch the result from the database. Again, this could be directly to do with the tables get logged due to other activities on the database could contribute to this issue. Then insufficient memory. Yes, some environments do still run low memory or low server configuration with single core processor, and with 4G or 2GB or 3GB RAM memory on the server. So since the applications features get released more and more heavy usage are there in the application, it is important we have the server configuration matching up the requirements. So if any customers run that, you could recommend some standard configuration, depends on the usage, because even if it works right now, maybe down the line the data consumption could be huge. The database records depends on the usage of the application. We should recommend the system requirements for them. So that would set you going. So that's basically it from me for today. And thank you all for patiently listening to me. Let me see if we have any questions. Our other team will following up because we are in 3 regions over the country. Share debugger URL with the links. All right. So the debug URL is right here, as I said. I'm going to ping the KB article itself to you. This is a non-login URL. You don't need the login to or credentials to log into it. You can access it from anywhere. Okay, I didn't get this question, but our other team is still following up because we are all right. So I understand that you're talking about the network disruption or power off in your situation, your environment, that other users are still connected, right? Is that what you're talking about? All right. Thank you, How. Thank you for your kind feedback. So again, let me see if Jay is still connected with us on the session. Jay, are you there? Usually Jay gives up the the end card. So let me see. Let me ping Jay if he wants to come back, or he might be occupied on other things also. So let me see. Of course, how we can definitely keep in touch our email. So here's my email address. You're welcome. So I'm also doing product management for software asset management module. So if there are any requirements or any specific requirements about software asset management, inventory, or license management, right, or compliance management, please do let us know. Please do write me an email so that I would be able to assist you further. So let me see if Jay can join us. Okay, let me give him a call. Okay, I see that you wanted to turn on the camera. All right, give me 1 second. Hi, how are you guys? All right. Am I visible? The room is a little dark, so am I visible?
You work from home?
Yeah.
I work from home.
Okay. So it's a work from home situation, guys. Not like you. I'm working from home. So you don't expect business casuals on me. So I'm just relaxing at home and just taking the session. So how are you?
I'm good.
Good. All right. I'm still waiting for Jay to join. By the way, I was there in Vietnam last year. Actually, last December, I was in Vietnam. I was in Ho Chi Minh City.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
this is in the south Vietnam, and we are from the north Vietnam.
Yes. I was there and had a good chance to explore the city well. So yeah.
Hi, you guys are in video. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure am I fit to show my face on this meeting because we're all working from home.
Yeah.
I remember the surface.
Oh, he says he removes your page, eh?
Yeah. I'm sure that when he was back to Vietnam, I remember the face.
All right.
Hi.
Hi. Now you guys can see me. Great. All right.
So the session is just ended, Jay, about 5 minutes back. We just wrapped up the session.
Well, that's good. That's
as
good.
usual. So just pinged you if you want to just give out your final words to our guys for the training program.
Not final, guys. It's going to be a continual activity, as you were saying in the
I mean,
beginning. All right.
for this particular training, yeah.
Yeah, for this
we-
training, yes, we are all the way at the end of the training. So what I do is I will consolidate everything and send you that on an email. All right, you can have your people to take up the evaluation. So that would be very interesting, and also it will help. It will be helpful for your team to get hands-on in the product. All right, so that's going to be really helpful. And yeah, I hope we shared whatever possible, right? And we tried to squeeze everything within 9 hours. It's 9 hours, right, Naga?
Yeah.
I think it is a bit
8 hours.
exceeded than 9 hours.
9 hours.
Okay, I think all went well. I hope your team was listening, and I see that some questions were asked by the team. That was good. The
Yes.
interactions were real good, though we have some language issues. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's all good. And I just wanted to share the link for the Deluge training. So I was telling you guys, so in your team, if someone is interested in coding and if they have programming background already, maybe you can recommend them to join this training, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be really helpful when it comes to integrations and customizations. You might want to, or your team want to build, right? So that's going to be real useful. What else? Do you guys have any other questions?
Yes. Before we probably wind up. Yep.
Yep.
Just a moment.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, thank you so much. So I said I will send you everything, all the materials, and also we got some presentations. Maybe if you have been asked for a presentation for a customer, or maybe if you're doing some training to your team internally, you can make use of those presentations. All right.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll share it.
The first one to the next month.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining and
Yep.
for all your patience.
Yep.
You all have a good evening. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you all.
We will keep the information for us.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, we don't update until we got the news
Yeah,
from the
because it's CCN and maybe the middle this month, maybe we can update to the.
you see they in the mix September I think
All right, guys. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Yeah. All have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye. Have a fun